stipulation of dismissal of the case within 30 days, according to the letter addressed to Federal Judge Louis Kaplan. The sum of the settlement will not be disclosed. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Assetto. Good morning.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog.
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafande hii umbo yako iko na
Hii ni umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice FM. Spice up your life.
All right in the middle of the week, and we're looking at traffic already building up on Mombasa Road a little bit. It's not going to be too painful from all indications, but we're going to have to watch and see what it looks like. On the Thika Superhighway, it's looking pretty good. Now's the time to be on that road if you're not interested in getting stuck in traffic later. Coming off of Waiaki Way today is where we see the most traffic at this point, getting into the city. Use the Red Hill Link Road to get out of that in terms of what's happening there right now. Most parts of Nairobi, not much of an issue. Let's take a quick look into Mombasa, and we've already seen this morning that's looking pretty good getting into town. And on the western side of things, getting past Naivasha out into Nakuru and into Kisumu, you'll be all right, at least for now. Let's swing back in about half an hour and see what things look like. And let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving this Wednesday.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
8 minutes after 6. A very good morning to you, the 16th day of February 2022. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for choosing us as your morning companion wherever you are tuned in today. Ndu?
Yes?
How are you?
I am fine, thank you.
You are well.
I am.
Fine.
I am a vision of health.
Good. Very good.
Innit?
Yes. City,
Yes.
are you visionary?
I wouldn't say so.
I've got sunshine. Did you see how the weather dipped yesterday? On a cloudy day. And then I thought it was going to rain. Ha! When it's
Shock on
cold
you.
outside, I've got the month of May. I guess
Oh, that one.
you say, what can make me feel this way, my girl? Hey. Talking about my girl, my girl. Ooh.
It's good when you sing songs I know.
Yes.
It's very good.
You feel nice?
Oh, very nice. That particular song is a nice song.
It is.
Yes.
Karibu sana. So now you're feeling a little bit brighter.
My friend,
Eh?
livened up kabisa.
Voila.
It's a lovely song.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yes.
Safi sana. So, karibuni sana katika mpango wa leo. Tuko hapa kuanzia saa hizi hadi saa 4, mendo ya saa 4 za asubuhi, mida ya saa 4 za asubuhi. Various conversations reflecting what's happening in the country and in the world. Let's begin the conversation with tracking COVID-19 in numbers.
Okay, so let's start with a big story that popped out on the global scene yesterday concerning COVID. And Novak Djokovic, who still holds the number 1 position in terms of tennis rankings, has said, you know what, rather than get the COVID vaccine, I would rather miss all the tournaments rather than get the jab. He says he's willing to forfeit future trophies rather than get vaccinated. Like, my career could end today. If it was going to be hinged on getting the vaccine in order to participate, then I'm going to do it. We're looking at the Grand Slams schedule that's taking place. And now what have we got? The French Open, Roland Garros coming up. And then you have Wimbledon coming up after that. And then the US Open thereafter. Quite a lot. And he says, you know what? These were tournaments that I would have liked to use to cement my career. But if I'm going to be forced to get vaccinated, I'd rather not do it. So
it is okay. I hope it doesn't fall in the category of famous last words. Huh?
Well, it's interesting, just looking at the summary of what has happened. He had an interview with the BBC yesterday. He says he's willing to sacrifice all this. He's distanced himself from the anti-vaccination movement. So he says he's not an anti-vaxxer, but he's defending his individual right to choose to get vaccinated or not. So he's operating as an individual. US legend Pam Shriver said that his consistent refusal to have the vaccine is terrible for the sport. Meanwhile, former British number 1 Tim Henman says Djokovic's choice to miss out on trophies speaks volumes about his convictions. His convictions must be really, really strong for him to say the thing that could define me as a sportsman on the globe, I'm willing to put it down if you're going to force me to do something that I don't want to do. Commentators have expressed skepticism of his claims to not be opposed to vaccination, pointing out that he's actively engaged in spreading anti-vaccination sentiment, which he has been previously. But now he's saying, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I don't want to take the vaccine.
Has he been an anti-vaxxer previously?
Yes, he has.
Anti-vaxxer or anti-COVID vaccine?
No. So previously, he has even said with himself and his wife that there were... Now, this is the interesting part. That there were certain vaccines for their children that he was not going to administer for them. Certain ones, and this is where they say it was a bit blurry, because some yes, some no. But then he has said specifically he's not an anti-vaxxer. But for COVID-19 specifically, he doesn't want to do this.
Yes, public good and all that, and the discussions around it understood. But you know something? Huh? The thing that distinguishes human beings from other human beings is just that. And this is really the discussion here. At what point do your personal freedoms begin? And at what point do they end? See, I'm not even bringing in the discussion of how it influences others. Because it seems like there's an understanding that our freedoms are infinite. And we're being told, no, they're finite.
They're not. They're finite.
Yes. There's a limit to how much freedom you can actually get. Now, this debate, unfortunately, is not going to end today.
No, it isn't. There's a lot of debate. There's a lot of, back and forth about this. It would be interesting to see what happens in the future Grand Slams and even in the other tournaments that are coming up through the tennis year, which has essentially just begun with the Australian Open. So it would be interesting to see what happens with that. Let's look really quickly at what's happening in Kenya. 20 new cases. A positivity rate of 0.4%. Really, really good in terms of numbers. Another day of 0 recorded deaths. 37 recoveries. That's what's going on in the country. And we're looking at world numbers, an increase of 2 million cases over the last 24 hours. 415,934,477 is what we're looking at in terms of global numbers. Steady decline of cases around the world. Vaccination still the thing. But again, the politics of COVID taking center stage with very many countries saying, you know what, COVID is going to be here for some time. Let's live with it. Leave us alone. That's what they're saying.
Uh-huh. And the Canadians?
The Canadians... The Canadians are not taking it lying down. The day has come where the police cleared the bridge. And the question is this the end? Windsor, Ontario, with the crossing reopening for traffic Sunday night after a 6-day protest. But with the demonstrations in Ottawa still going strong, is there any end in sight to the anti-mandate movement is the question. They were saying they were hoping it was not going to end like this. They had asked police to allow them continue protesting peacefully, but police came in and took them out, literally. A week-long stalemate has come to an end. Hundreds of vehicles had parked along a 2-kilometer stretch trying to get through, but they've now taken the fight to Ottawa, and they're saying, look, you know what? We should be allowed to protest this. So stop it.
Let's see how it plays out. 16 minutes after 6. A very good morning. Are you online? Say hello. We'll be taking a roll call shortly. First, let's see how the weather is going to look like today around the country and around the world.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
It's 17 degrees and mostly cloudy in Nairobi. It'll go to highs of 27 today. Partly sunny conditions through today, coming down to lows of 15. In Nakuru, we're looking at partly cloudy conditions and then going into clear skies at 15, highs of 27 and lows of 14. It's partly cloudy at 14 in Nyeri, highs of 28 and lows of 13, 11 degrees, and clear in Eldoret, highs of 25 today. It's clear in Mombasa at 24. We'll see highs of 32 and we'll also see highs of 33 in Malindi. Partly cloudy conditions at 20 in Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 19, while it's cloudy in Kakamega at 19. It'll go to highs of 29 and lows of 15. Kampala is mostly clear at 18, highs of 27 seen today. Mostly cloudy conditions at 26 in Dar es Salaam, highs of 32, back down to lows of 26. In Lagos, mostly clear conditions at 26, highs of 33, and it's cloudy at 16 in Joburg. 27 will be the high and lows of 15. Let's take a look out into Beijing, Kinshasa. It's raining this morning at 25, highs of 33 and lows of 24, -4 and sunny in Beijing. 1 will be the high and lows of -9. And we're looking at rain in Paris at 9 degrees. We'll see highs of 15 today. 11 degrees, slightly warmer in London, highs of 16 and lows of 8. While in New York, it's clear at -1, still Tuesday night. That'll be the high for today, going to lows of -3.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Minutes after 6 a.m.
Dagi Oguta already here and tuned in from Kisumu. Sirisia Bungoma present. That's where Demican Busolo is tuned in from. Amos Hissa says, the Djokovic issue is the same as what's happening in Kenyan schools about COVID vaccination. Parents have conflicting sentiments. That's interesting. Top of the morning to you and to you too, Pauline Mungai, my girl, Ndu. Yes. CT and Muga, you started the morning on a beautiful musical note. We'll do it again tomorrow and CT will be leading. George Machuki tuned in from Kasarani. Good morning, Spice. That's Robert says good morning. Let Ndu give us one of those Nigerian proverbs. I'll give CT to give you. Don't worry. It's coming. Daniel Kitiku says hello and good morning. Onsare says Nyamira is tuned in from Kirinyaga. Kumbe, you guys don't change sitting positions. Amos is asking questions. CT. Amos wants us to play musical chairs.
Well, he asked the question, and I think the response is something that we owe him. Yes.
Kumbe. Yes, Kumbe.
Yes, Kumbe. CT. MCR, it's been a minute. How are you? Karibu sana Maina Nyeri. It's got to be Nyeri. Laban, Brian, and Abute, we see you. Good morning to you. Brian Dege kutoka Esamba in the room this morning. We see you all and we thank you for joining us. Jack Sangura, tuned in from Emuhaya in Vihiga County. Karibu.
Welcome, City. Your position.
Yes, indeed. You know, the whole of this week we're going to be listening to African proverbs. And when we get to next week, I will start with North Africa.
Okay.
And then move slowly to West, Central, and slowly week by week until I get to the southern part of Africa.
Don't forget the islands.
Yes. North,
Those
south, north, south, southwest. Yes, east, south. Right. A fish and bird may fall in love, but the two cannot build a home together.
A fish and a bird may fall in love,
They may
but the two cannot.
build a home together.
Aye. Surely. They haven't heard that song or the poem, The Owl and the Pussycat.
No.
No, I haven't either.
You haven't?
No, I haven't.
Oh, let me get you the poem. The Owl and the Pussycat by Edward Lear.
Okay.
Huh? So you know the owl
A bird.
and the pussycat?
Cat.
Yes, cat.
Cat. Higher. Let me get the poem.
Eric.
The Owl and the Pussycat, right? Are you ready? The Owl and the Pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money, wrapped up in a 5-pound note. The Owl looked up to the stars above and sang to a small guitar. Oh, lovely pussy, oh, pussy, my love, what a beautiful pussy you are. You are, what a beautiful pussy you are. Pussy said to the Owl, you elegant fowl, how charmingly sweet you sing. Oh, let us be married, too long we have tarried, but what shall we do for a ring? They sailed away for a year and a day to the land where the bong tree grows. And there in a wood a piggywig stood, with a ring at the end of his nose, with a ring at the end of his nose. Dear pig, are you willing to sell for 1 shilling your ring? Said the piggy, I will. So they took it away and were married next day by the turkey who lives on the hill. They dined on mince and slices of quince, which they ate with a runcible spoon, and hand in hand on the edge of the sand they danced by the light of the moon. The moon, they danced by the light of the moon.
Okay.
They got married.
That's beautiful.
This guy actually went to school.
If you had any doubt, you have now confirmed.
This guy went to school.
He did. He did.
The next thing
I was just
hear-
singing there. Oh, lovely pussy, oh, pussy, my love. What a beautiful pussy you are.
There's a song for the poem too.
Yes.
This guy, next time, he's going to recite above the Maloon.
Me, I like the part that they went to sea on a pea green boat. I just imagine the pea green boat.
Me, the pig with a ring on the
Ring
nose.
on its nose. And
the
the turkey who lived on the hill.
That one. I love it. Okay. Right.
Let's look at the newspaper headlines, shall we? Standard e-paper. You can get it on the Standard app. Yeah, on the app. On the Google Play Store and Apple App Store. The Standard e-paper. www.standardmedia.co.ke. What's in the papers?
There's a lot, all right, so let's start with this trial that's happening at the ICC. Day one was yesterday. And what the Standard has said is that Ruto's name looms large at ICC trial. The Nation says ghosts of Hague for Ruto witness tampering trial. The deputy president might be several thousands of kilometers away, and it's almost 6 years since his case at the International Criminal Court in The Hague collapsed. But he remains the star of the ongoing trial of the Kenyan lawyer Paul Gisheru. Let's look at the details in the Standard. Details of bribery, threats and intimidation against witnesses emerge in Paul Gisheru's trial at The Hague. The name of the DP crops up as prosecution lays out its case. With what the prosecution alleges against the network, the carrot, prosecutor says witnesses were given promises and bribed to recant their evidence in the case against DP Ruto and journalist Joshua Sang. And the stick, when the promises and bribes did not work, threats and intimidation and weapons were unleashed to send cold shivers down the spines of identified witnesses. The network. The prosecution claims lawyer Paul Gisheru was at the heart of the bribery machine that also included Silas Simatuo, Elisha Busene, Isaac Mayo as the managers. Also in the team as the intermediaries were Walter Baraza, Meshach Yebe, and Philip Bett. 8 is the number of counts against lawyer Paul Gisheru, who denies all the charges. It's carried on page 6 and 7. And as we saw this yesterday, very spirited effort by the prosecution to say, you know what? We need this evidence to come out in this trial. There were initially 12 witnesses, 6 of which have decided up until before the asking of the bench to compel witnesses to testify. They had then said they were not going to be part of this. The office of the prosecutor, on its maiden statement before trial chamber 3, Maria Samba, painted a picture of a well-oiled juggernaut that was armed with money and promises to cause mass walkout of witnesses in the case. When the prosecution team composed of Deputy Prosecutor James Stewart, senior trial lawyer Anton Steinberg, and trial lawyer Alice Zago took the floor, they laid bare huge offers to witnesses, yet what was actually paid did not match up to the witness demands. When this did not work, weapons and threats were unleashed, like we said. And according to them, Big Man Ruto wanted no stone unturned. There can be no doubt that the accused was aware that the common plan had a criminal component. The OTP says that lawyer Paul Gisheru was at the heart of the bribery machine, adding that 4 witnesses were bribed to recant their evidence, while 2 others reported to the investigators about efforts to give them clean cash to walk out of the case. The idea was to end Ruto's case quickly, and in the middle of the trial, the mission, the court heard, was to locate, contact, and bribe witnesses. So this all started yesterday, and it'll go on for the next foreseeable future. And it's interesting because we're looking at witnesses, and I'll just go really quickly through the list of them. P0397 was given 5 million shillings, allegedly. P0800 was given between 1.5 to 2.5 million shillings. P0613, unknown amount. P0540, 1.4 million shillings. 0495, 1.5 to 2.5 million shillings. 0536, 1.5 to 1.6 million.
Stop. Money that people are given as bribes.
Money that witnesses were given to recant their evidence or not show up at all.
Okay.
Okay.
So the going rate is $1 million plus.
Million and above.
Right.
Exactly. So 0536 between 1 and 1.6 million. 0334 5 million shillings. 0274 2 million shillings. And apparently, according to the OTP, they have evidence of this and these amounts that they received.
There's a witness who says the case against Deputy President William Ruto and radio journalist Joshua Sang was an important one, adding that he dreaded seeing the case collapse due to witness tampering. I did not want to see the case, which was important to victims of post-election violence, collapse like that because of witness bribery. According to the prosecution, this P800 claimed that P540 and 579 had approached him. 800 narrated to the prosecution that 540 told him he had been offered 1.5 million. 540 told him that the big man wanted to offer him an equal amount of money to withdraw from the case. According to the senior trial lawyer, 800 and 540 used to refer to DP Ruto as the big man. So they're just being more direct here and saying, so the allegation here is that it was the big man himself who was... Now, it's going to be an interesting one, this one. So yes, the person who's prosecuting the case is somebody from the office of the prosecutor in this case. But the chief prosecutor of the ICC was the lead defense counsel.
For the same one, William Ruto.
Yes.
It's really sticky. It's really sticky.
Aye. And one of the people who were working in the prosecution against William Ruto is now a judge.
Is now a judge that is overseeing this particular case. So there's a 3-judge bench here, trial chamber made of 3 judges.
And
one
Madam
of them
President
used to work in Ocampo's office during that time. Asked to recuse herself, she denied. She said,
I know,
I'm not going anywhere.
Hey.
Really sticky, this one.
Sheesh. Okay, it's 6:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take a quick break, take a look at the traffic. We'll be looking at other newspaper headlines shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I hope you don't believe that Hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kano, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Mathare, presidential tour. Yeah? And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the inmates says, hata wewe kuna jina kama yangu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Building up in certain parts of the city, but nothing too crazy just yet. We're seeing it coming down towards community of Ngong Road, but Ngong Road up there is all right. Langata Road, really not much at the moment until you get to the roundabouts going towards Timor. Coming into the city is where we see some action. Coming off the thicker superhighway, quite thick. It's going past the Utali Drift and then moving its way slowly towards that junction at the outer ring, and then further on you see some traffic. Juja Road also has quite some today. Coming out of Westlands, Ring Road Westlands already jam-packed bumper to bumper in some parts. But apart from that, things are still at a dull roar at 6:30. I think we can suffice to say that it won't be too crazy of a morning, but let's just wait and see. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
That's
Spice
3
FM,
minutes to
Nairobi.
after 6, 27 minutes to 7. So, the Murang'a woman rep Sabina Wanjiru Chege has lost her round 1 in rigging remarks case. She's been ordered to appear before an independent Electoral Boundaries Commission committee over alleged rigging remarks that she made at a rally. The Electoral Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee yesterday overruled objections that had been presented by her legal team, which was led by Senator James Orengo, MP Otiende Amolo, and others, who had argued that the IEBC had no jurisdiction to handle this case. The MPs were arguing that it was the judiciary that should be handling matters related to vote rigging and that IEBC was overreaching its mandate. They said the election campaign period had not been gazetted, hence the enforcement of the Elections Act would be untenable. It's not a campaign period and she is not subject to a code of conduct. The moment you try to deal with this matter, Chege will not be on trial by this commission. The honourable thing for the committee is to withdraw from dealing with this particular issue. But this argument that the IBC had to use to pin down Chege and her legal team. Chairman Ofula Chebukati said the code of conduct has a lifeline. which begins from the day a notice of the general election is issued to the day of the swearing in of the elected leaders. On the 20th of January, IEBC gazetted the date of the election. Are we together?
Mm-hmm.
So the code of conduct is
Kicks
in
in then.
effect. Ms. Sabina Wanjiru Chege made these remarks last week, which was after the 20th of January, all right? Chebukati says that Chege is subject to the Electoral Code of Conduct because she is a member of the Jubilee Party and a woman rep. The Electoral Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee has jurisdiction. According to the ruling, Jubilee is a registered party which has submitted its nomination rules to the Commission and given indication that it will be participating in the August polls. Chege is now expected to defend herself on Tuesday. So these remarks that she made, and they've circulated on social media, I mean, it's all out there in the public, in which she was talking about the last general election of 2017, where there were allegations of something, some game or the other having taken place in some parts of the country, Mount Kenya, and he said, unajua labda ni ukweli. And, I mean, if it could happen then, why can't it happen again? What is the import of what IEBC is trying to do? Is IEBC trying to throw in a deterrence? Or is IEBC really interested in knowing what Sabina Chege is talking about and what she knew?
What did she actually say?
What did she say?
Yes.
See, I've just said what she said.
Let me repeat my question. What did she actually say?
Oh, the actually bit is
She said it would seem Sisi was central. It would seem as though during the last election tulifanya nini. That's what she said. Na hata saa hii ikikuwa ngumu pia tunaweza. That's what she said.
Lakini baba amesema tujitokeze sisi wote tupige kura. The thing is, what did she say? What did she imply? What was understood? That whole issue of the communication.
Precisely.
If she goes there, she says, look, I wasn't talking about vote rigging.
How will you say she wasn't? Exactly. If she did not, this is the thing. If she did not open her mouth and say,
tuliiba kura.
Yeah, exactly. Na nilikuwa hapo, na wengine, this person, and this person.
Especially the wengine.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing is, I have listened, I have read, and I'm asking the same questions you are asking. What are we talking about? So whatever it is, whatever was reported as having been said by Sabina Chege, the only conclusion that we can arrive at is that she was saying that the elections were fiddled with.
And that if things get sticky in this upcoming election, that we can also fiddle with it again.
We've got the experience.
Yeah.
Well, what is it that she's saying that is unusual? Because right from the time we got independence and the elections that we first had in this country, stories about fiddling with the elections, ballot boxes being found in Rivanjoro. It's not new. Stuffed ballot boxes at nominations, at the actual elections, surely.
So what would IEBC want
Does it
to
mean
throw
that
at
because
her
it's not
is the
new,
question.
then we
It
should
can be
just,
done.
sweep it under the carpet?
No, I am not saying should be swept under the carpet. I am asking, what is this thing that she said that has not been spoken of and even evidence provided for in the past?
And why did they not do something about it then?
Yes, if IEBC comes out to say, we interpret this as this,
Yes.
and it is not true,
Yes.
and if they say that what we're hearing is them wanting to get to the bottom of it, then good for them. Kudos.
But they have to do their job. They have to do this, right? They have to go through. By the time they say what we have found doesn't hold water, it means that they have to go
Yes.
through the
They have to
process.
go through the due diligence.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they have to prove that what Sabina Chege said was what they interpreted it to have been said. Okay? It is fine. We are going to be treated to processes and how such matters will be held. But as we move forward swiftly with the election agenda,
Yes.
we will hear more and more of such things. Some people will even be more brazen and tell you that they even have evidence to show.
The question is, what is IEBC trying to throw at Chege right now? Are they trying to say there is election or electoral misconduct by a sitting member of parliament, and that you should, and a member of a political party, should you is there a standard to which you should be held? And because of that,
Yes.
this is why we are coming after you.
That's what I
also
see.
serve, to also serve as a deterrent to others who are going to try and do the same thing.
The IEBC have no leg to stand on.
This is
Let me join the other Kenyans who have asked them to open up those servers to do precisely that. If you want to present yourself as reliably straightforward,
Squeaky
forthright,
clean.
and honest, then surely can we really just wholesalely get into
You know,
the
this
honesty
open the
business?
servers conversation, now it has become like a thing that we'll always be using, open the servers. There's one thing that you don't know, so that's the one you focus on and say,
Actually,
because there's something here
we
that
can't
don't
have
know.
this discussion
without it.
Yes.
Because
We
if you're
can
trying
ha-
to say that, if
we
you're trying
can
to say
have
that I've said
this
something
particular
that is
discussion
wrong,
without it.
No,
This
no.
particular one, we
I
can have it.
actually can't.
And listen,
because-
this is why I'm saying it.
Yes.
There's an electoral code of conduct, right? Which talks about the code of conduct. And it says when it kicks in, when it ends. The IEBC has been given the mandate to enforce a code of conduct. Today, somebody makes a statement today. Somebody does something that violates that code of conduct today. Somebody conducts some electoral malpractice today. The IEBC has a leg to stand on in law to act. That is what they're expected to do. If
Right.
they don't, then
Eric,
we'll have an issue with the
Eric,
IEBC.
Eric.
So say today, CT,
Yes.
there was, they've already gazetted the date of the election. So they say there was some outright misconduct by one of the players, right? Should the IEBC sit back because they have never opened the servers for the last one?
Actually, no.
They're holding an election this time. Should we say we should not even be telling us about the next election because they've not opened the server for the last election?
No, it would be un-Kenyan because we need to be hypocritical in everything that we do. You see, code of conduct that you're referring to, man, you're absolutely right. They have a duty to perform. Unfortunately, you cannot uphold and talk about a higher standard to which you cannot be held. This is really what I'm saying. I'm saying carry on with your duties. But while you're carrying on with those duties, please understand that in the court of public opinion, we're looking at you and saying, you, the holder of high standards, what about the standards that you are supposed to hold? And what obligation do you have to us when it comes to being transparent and
Listen,
open?
like you've said, we have got to be as, what did you say about Kenyans?
Duplicitous as possible.
Yes, because these are the same people who are saying, IEBC, can you tell us whether you're registering voters? IEBC, can you tell us the date of the next election? IEBC, can you conduct the next general election? But at the same time, we are saying that you don't have the moral authority.
No. If you leave the moral out of it, and do they have authority? They have
They
authority.
have authority.
That is why
even the authority to enforce the code of conduct.
they have.
Now you're bringing in the moral side.
I have to, because everything about probity and the issues we're referring to, unfortunately, fall at the footsteps of this. That's what happens. If we are going to open that particular box of following the rules as they ought to, then you brought everything into this discussion. That one, correct, take, please carry on. But while you're at it also, consider this. Not do away with what you're doing. Carry on with what you are doing. And hold people accountable.
There is no order right now that tells the IEBC open a server. But there's a law that tells the IEBC enforce a code of conduct. There's a law that tells the IEBC gazette the date for the next general election. There's a law that tells the IEBC receive nomination rules from each political party that wants to participate in an election. There's a law that tells the IEBC nominate candidates for the election. There's a law that tells the IEBC manage the election. Now let's stick with what the IEBC should be doing.
There is a law that also states that you cannot be arrested by a police officer without being informed as to what it is you're being arrested about. You will be arrested and bundled into jail and you'll be told nothing. However, but there is a law.
Yeah, so you go to court if you feel aggrieved. If you feel that they have not followed the law, you take them to court. And you tell the court, you know what, my honor.
Our honor.
Our honor, all of us.
Our honor.
Yes.
I don't know why I'm here. It's 16 minutes to 7. Let's take a quick break. Take a look at... we'll be looking at other headlines shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 6:45. This is Kenya's biggest. So, City, what are you looking at?
I, my friend,
Yes.
am looking at something a little less interesting than what you were just discussing. Infinitely less interesting. All right. So let me read it.
It clearly isn't interesting.
No, you know, I'm caught between. All right, let me read it anyway. Teachers get best maternity deal among civil servants. Right? This is an article. I mean, other papers have carried it, but I'm reading the article from the Business Daily. Teachers who adopt children will now enjoy a 45-day paid leave after the Teacher Service Commission announced a new enhanced package that will make tutors have one of the best maternity packages in the civil service.
Right.
Let me read further. The package is in partial fulfillment of the 2021 to 2025 Collective Bargaining Agreement, CBA, and is slightly longer than the 1 month paid leave enjoyed by other state officers who opt to become adoptive parents. Yes. The teacher is eligible to a pre-adoptive leave of 45 calendar days with full pay from the date of adoption, says the TAC Chief Executive Nancy Macharia in a circular to teachers. Is this not a good thing?
It is.
Good news?
Quite.
When the teachers' union went to have this conversation, remember there were those who were saying, no. I mean, what we wanted was money.
There are always those.
Money.
We're not in, you've not really, after all the talks, you've not really helped us.
surely
You've given
we
us
want money.
leave.
Yeah.
No.
But look, think about it. I mean, 3 months.
Good thing.
It's a good thing.
You know, there's so much you can do with that time that money cannot compensate for.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
They-
Some time to bond with your newborn.
It is. You know, there are countries where maternity leave,
6 months.
18.
18 months.
18. You go back to work when that child can insult people.
Indeed. Okay. Yesterday we talked about Hola and Taita Taveta County.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
Today, onto a different sector, education. A neglected school where pupils and teachers share toilets. The lives of more than 150 pupils in Nyeri Primary School in Nandi South are in danger as they take their studies in dilapidated structures following years of neglect. Located on the edges of the Nandi escarpments in Bonchoge, the school, established in 2014, has mud-walled classrooms, some falling apart, posing danger to learners and their teachers. Coincidentally, Nyeri in Kalenjin means to destroy by trampling. Nelson Koech, the chairperson of the school's board of management, said that due to the shortage of primary schools along the border of the Nandi Vihiga counties, residents initiated the school and registered it in 2014 as a public institution. We established the school for our children and could not navigate rocky routes to get to other schools. All the classrooms from pre-primary to class 8 are dilapidated, exposing the pupils to dust and rusty broken roofs. The dry season is a blessing in disguise as the learners can study without disruptions. You can imagine what would happen were it raining. The classrooms are congested and some learners are taught under trees. What stands out as a permanent structure in the 1 acre is a church that doubles up as a staff room with space for 3 classes arranged in corners. Teachers share toilets with pupils. The one that was used by the children collapsed. The management says the school has not benefited from the National Government Constituency Development Fund and the capitation money to enable improvement of the infrastructure. Last week, parents protested dereliction from the government, noting that the school was registered and served children from Vihiga and Nandi. Mary Koech, the school board secretary, I don't know if she's related to the other Koech, claimed the competency-based curriculum was not achievable, I can't imagine why, with the kind of facilities at the school. Nandi Education Director Zachary Muthui said the school was registered and given a provincial certificate even, but there was no follow-up to ensure that they met learning standards.
I think they meant provisional certificates, right?
Yes, that's what they said.
So it was registered and it was given a provisional certificate. Then there's no follow-up to ensure that they met the standards.
So that they can get to the next level.
So here's the thing. A community comes together. Community decides. Remember the thing we were talking about, that you want a school here. How long does it take for you to get that? We want a school here. How long does it take? Here is one clear case. Community decided, you know what, we need a school for our children here because there's a sizable population of our kids that need a school here, right? Community comes together. They use the resources that they have at their disposal. And they seize kidogo mabati here and there. They can go to the forest and cut some trees, and they can provide their own labor. They built a mud wall school.
Yeah.
And they roofed it with some old iron sheets. And then they went to the government and said, our kids are here. Recognize us and send us teachers. They get a provisional registration. The follow-up is what is clearly not happening, because that follow-up, because they are provisionally licensed, they are not getting capitation from the ministry. That means, ile mambo tulikuwa nasema, are you in the map?
You don't even show
They are
up on
not
the map.
on this particular map. The provisional certificate given in 2014 expired after 1.5 years. The school has not benefited from any financial support since then. For institutions to be registered, they should have permanent structures. Now, whose responsibility was it to move them from these mud-walled structures
To a permanent one.
permanent structures? Education officers had been dispatched to assess the school, and other schools said to be abandoned locally, and the fate of this school would be determined once the report is concluded. What's the state of this school? Bwana CS, the report is coming. The report is coming. Here is one of those cases. Those things that we talk about on a daily basis. We have a county director of education.
We do.
Aware of this situation.
Who is aware of the situation, has put it in a report.
And that's where it goes to
The
die.
report goes to regional director of education, goes to the ministry headquarters. The ministry headquarters then acts. But there's a community that clearly needed a school. They did this particular one. They need the support. There's a local member of parliament who has not been able to come in and start giving this. Okay, local CDF committee has not allocated money to help this particular school.
Capitation they cannot get.
They cannot get capitation from the national government. How long does it take to get a school running?
Come on.
How long? How long should this bureaucracy take?
Continue. We're talking about things that started in 2014, eh? Let's not be confused here. 2014, 7-8 years ago, is when this school was built for the first time. And when they did this, you won't tell me that they built the school, had kids in school, and then 3 years later went to the ministry and said, oh, by the way, we have this school. No. I am sure that while this school was being built, because what are the problems that they cited? For our children to get to school from where we are, it's too rocky. They're not able to traverse that area.
Yep.
So the best thing was then for us to have a school within the vicinity of this community. So by the time they're building this school, they have informed the ministry that this is happening. Education officers, I bet my bottom dollar, were aware that this is happening. Built the school, told them school is finished, provisional certificate, moving, children in school. Provisional means that it's somewhere hanging in the balance, right?
You've been allowed, okay.
You've been allowed to start.
So we hear you, and we hear that you have some genuine concern. It's okay. So just go ahead, build a school. We'll send a couple of teachers in the next 1.5 years.
We'll sort you
We
out.
should get you from this level to another level.
That's the understanding.
Yes, 1.5 years has become 8 years. 1.5 years has become 8 years. And here we are, and the school is falling apart.
Yeah. Whose
Children-
responsibility is it to move this school to permanent structures? Who builds schools in Kenya? Is it the ministry or is it parents? Is it government that builds schools, or is it local communities' mandate to build schools?
You know, the history of our nation points to one thing. That the government has always been supplemented either by the community or by religious organizations.
Yes.
That's our history.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the health sector replicates this very, very, very same trend.
Yep.
There's a need. People realize nothing's going to happen. They figure, why don't we just do it ourselves? Yes. And also in our history, the government then sits back and assumes that every time there's a problem, the citizenry or some so-called well-wishers will come in and solve the problem. And yet this is actually their function. It is their duty. It is their mandate.
Yep.
It's their job, man.
It is.
It's their
Job description.
This is why they
is it.
exist. You see, this is the thing. This. You see that paper you are given when you get a job and they say job description is listed thusly. This now falls under their job description. So it's not a suggestion. It's not a maybe can we do if the conditions. No, it's part of their job.
Because if the county director of education is aware of this and there's a report that's been written, who is sitting on the report?
For 8 years, somebody must be.
All right, let me ask the question. The school is in Nandi,
Yes.
but students come
coming
from both
from-
Vihiga County.
Yes, border.
and
It's
Nandi.
border.
But now if it's border, the excuse will be found. It's pushed this way.
Yeah.
It's pushed that way. It's pushed this way. And in short, nothing happens. And if
Nobody
you-
owns it.
Yes, and if you actually investigate further, you may even find that at some point funds have even been allocated, but you cannot tell where those funds went.
Yep.
Whenever there's something of this sort, it isn't that someone didn't move it. It's just that it never got done.
Yep.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
So these kids, by the time they get to standard 8, they have no registered examination center.
No. What do you...
This one, we'll discuss it later.
It has more.
The invasive Indian house crows, the aggressive birds that have been wreaking havoc in coastal towns, have spread their wings inland and they have been sighted. Not at Mutitwandei, not at Makindu, not Emali, not even Nairobi. They're in Marigat town, Baringo County.
So you could refer to them as tourists.
Yes.
I want to see what
The
it's
bird
like
is
on the
not
other
native
side.
to Kenya.
No,
You know
it's
those birds when you go to the coast,
The ones that shout for you
My
in the morning when
friend.
you're on holiday and it's not even 6 in the morning.
they just fill up in power transmission lines every space. You're just seeing this
very
black
rude,
crows.
very rude creatures.
Tell you, can't even say good
They
morning.
are serious. They are not native to Kenya and they're described by experts as an aggressive and invasive pest. Though they are not indigenous to East Africa, they rule the skies in the coastal towns where they are regarded as a nuisance. The sighting of the bird in Baringo has sparked fears that the species is fast spreading inland. Recently, when going out my business in Marigat, I heard a strange bird call. Normally, as a birder, I would know the sounds of native birds, and even the migrants. Upon checking, I realized it was the Indian house crow next to a grocery store. This is according to one gentleman called Titus Chepkangor. According to the North Rift Tourism Coordinator William Kimosop, the sighting of the bird is bad news for tourism. This one. Remember, there have been attempts to even deal with this particular bird in the coast, trying to poison them, but then the poison has now other effects. Scientists have been unable to really deal with this particular bird, not even knowing how it came from India to the coast.
On a ship.
Yes, it
Definitely.
did.
It was
Came
on a ship. Yeah. It was clear.
It was clear. It's clear to those who think. The scientists are like, we are definitely not sure this is how they arrived.
That bird flies.
Surely.
So surely. Ilipiga mbizi.
What, did it come on a ship? Was it transported? Was it stowaway? How did it arrive here?
Yes.
Was it somebody who thought it was a pet and then they carried it? How did it arrive here? Anyway,
Why don't we just say all of the above?
all of the above. The bird is here. www.ca.go.ke. That's the Communications Authority website.
Indeed, it is. And not to forget that the Communications Authority is reminding us that the internet can be a safe place where children can learn and get other kinds of information that would help them out. But it is dangerous sometimes because there are those who are out to get kids. There are threats and that will be faced on the internet. So Cyber Soldiers was created in order for kids to be able to play and recognize threats on the internet and then be able to fight them. The objective of Cyber Soldiers is to learn how to deal with online threats and vulnerabilities in terms of what you can or cannot do.
Well, yes, log on to www.ca.go.ke and then you go to either Cyber Soldiers and allow the young ones to play the game, or Child Online Protection. And this is where you get access to information on how you can protect your child from all these harms online, like cyber bullies. We'll talk about cyber bullies and other cyber safety tips that you need to know just from going to Child Online Protection tab on www.ca.go.ke. The Communications Authority of Kenya, mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako. Good morning, it's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Is it Kenyan law prohibition bribing prosecution witnesses at the International Criminal Court as the trial against Deputy President William Ruto, which collapsed 6 years ago. The ICC has accused Gicheru of playing a key role in a scheme to thwart the trial of Ruto. Ruto and his co-accused broadcaster Joshua Sang were both charged with causing ethnic violence after the disputed 2007 election in which 1,200 people died. ICC judges ruled in 2016 that the two had no case to answer, although they left the door open for possible fresh charges in future, noting that the case had been hampered by political interference and threats against witnesses. The prosecution has said it has enough evidence despite blaming the Kenyan government for failing to hand over two other suspects accused of obstructing ICC cases.
The prosecution notes that two further suspects for whom arrest warrants have been issued for the same offences remain at large, and we call upon the Kenyan authorities to take all necessary steps to surrender these two suspects to the court without further delay.
Gicheru stands accused of violating court procedures, intimidating witnesses, killing witnesses, and bribing witnesses to disrupt the proceedings. Gicheru, who surrendered to the ICC in 2020, denied all charges before Judge Miata Maria Samba.
Mr. Gicheru, can you rise, please? Now, do you understand the nature of the charges read out to you today?
Yes, I do, Madam President.
Do you make an admission of guilt with respect to any of the charges?
Not at all. Madam President, for the record, I plead not guilty.
The judiciary has assured Kenyans as well as the political class that petitions that will be filed before the court because of election malpractices will be dealt with expeditiously to reduce anxiety and ensure that justice is served. Over 120 judicial officers are to be trained on election laws before the election. This is according to Chief Justice Martha Koome. The CJ spoke Tuesday at a forum that brought together the judiciary and the media ahead of the forthcoming elections.
In the Kenyan context, the conduct of elections and settlement of electoral disputes has a bearing on the stability of the state and the peaceful coexistence as a nation. We are prepared to deal with all the disputes that will come, absolutely impartial, dispassionate. Whatever problems they will bring to our courts, we will reduce them into constitutional and legal issues.
This is the REBC sought to explain why the voter registration exercise experienced low voter turnout.
We also need to educate and sensitize, especially the youth of this country, the value of their vote, the connection between the value of their vote and the quality of life.
Now, Kenya is one of the 150 countries across the world that are taking part in the Dubai Expo 2020 to showcase some of its greatest offerings to potential tourists and business investors. The Dubai Expo 2020, which started late last year, is the first World Expo hosted in the Middle East, Africa and South Asia region. Kenya, which had a stand at the Expo, has been a major attraction with over 200,000 people visiting the Kenyan pavilion. As the August 9th polls fast approaches, various political leaders and opinion shapers continue to position themselves in readiness for battle royale on election day. Kakamega Governor and Orange Democratic Movement Deputy Party Leader Wycliffe Oparanya has refuted claims that he will join Deputy President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza Brigade after he missed campaigns in Western Kenya last week. Oparanya says he was away from the campaigns because of other engagements on behalf of party leader Raila Odinga, maintaining that the allegations against him are baseless. He was accompanied by other leaders including Kotubos Francis Atwoli and Lugari MP Ayub Savula. Now, the One Kenya Alliance and the Azimio la Umoja movement are in talks to field one presidential candidate in the August polls. KANU National Chairperson Gideon Moi says Oka principals are negotiating with Azimio la Umoja leaders as equal partners, and whoever they will agree upon will be the coalition flag bearer. The Baringo senator spoke while addressing KANU aspirants from Nairobi at the party headquarters. And Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre have reached a settlement according to a court document filed by Giuffre's attorneys. The parties anticipate filing a stipulation of dismissal of the case within 30 days, according to the letter addressed to Federal Judge Louis Kaplan. The sum of the settlement will not be disclosed. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, Thika Superhighway, hot and heavy traffic all the way towards Zimmerman. And it's really sticky, bumper to bumper, through and through. We're also looking at traffic coming off of Kiambu Road today, and doesn't look too pretty at all. Getting into the CBD looks like it's going to be quite one for the books today. On Limuru Road, it's quite tight. Coming out of Westlands, also doing its thing. Ring Road Westlands is seeing where, as we say, quite a lot of traffic this morning. Langata Road also piling up really, really quickly. Jogo Road also. The magic is happening there. Okay, guys, let's look at it in about half an hour. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. What do we want to do? We want to keep things moving this Wednesday. Let's do it.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation
Good morning.
Room,
How
the
you
only
doing?
way.
16th day of February 2022. It's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday wherever you are tuned in. City, how's the day's proverb?
I do.
Okay.
I most certainly do.
The Indian crow and the fish.
No. This one is actually, we were not specific about the bird, but neither were we specific about the fish. Okay? But nonetheless, a fish and a bird. Generalities. Okay? You want to extrapolate? Be my guest. May fall in love, but the two cannot build a home together. The love bit possible, okay? Where the turkey and the ring and perfect, but building a home, the hand holding as you watch the sunset, according to that poem, yes, possible.
It's possible.
But building a home.
Owl and pussycat.
Fish and bird. Okay. I'm not going there.
You're not going there?
That one.
No.
A fish and a bird may fall in love, but the two cannot build a home together.
No way. Okay. Okay. So now, there's a lady called Anne Wambere Ngirita. Anne Wambere Ngirita is one of the people who is facing a corruption charge in court, case in court over NYS. She and her three relatives were charged in 2018. She was charged with allegedly receiving 59 million shillings from the National Youth Service without supplying any goods. She had been given a tender to supply food, stationery and firewood, among other items. The case is still ongoing. Her mother, Lucy Wamboi, sister Phyllis Nyeri, and brother Jeremiah Geshina are also facing similar charges. Yesterday, Ngirita, who has decided, you know what, I want to represent the people of Nakuru County, and she's therefore eyeing the seat of woman rep, was among new members who were received by the Jubilee Party at its Nakuru branch. However, minutes later, the regional director, Peter Cheruyot, and branch chairman, James Karemi, received the new members. The party issued a statement directing Ngirita to first of all go to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. From there, that is where? Milimani. What's that building called? Integrity Center. From there, walk, take a boda, drive to town, Times Tower, go to Kenya Revenue Authority. From there, walk, boda, whatever, go to Kiambu Road, Mazingira House, DCI headquarters. Seek clearance from those three. Then
and then come.
Then come and then we'll talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Jubilee Party says it's open to receive all Kenyans, but it's a clean party. We are advising Ngirita to seek clearance with the EACC, the KRA and the DCI prior to participating in our nominations. The party does not condone graft. Asked about the corruption case, Ngirita said that the matter would not hinder her political ambitions. She says, first of all, by the way, I've come from Jubilee. I'd initially gone to UDA. Then, when President Uhuru Kenyatta came out to give direction of the party, no, this actually said when Baba came out to give direction to the party, I felt the need for me to return. So she's now come to Jubilee. So now, I know some people will be mudslinging me, but I'm ready for that. I'm a mother. I know what women in this country want. I'm going to represent the issues of women, of youth, of the marginalized. This is what this position is. It's an affirmative action seat.
Okay.
Yeah.
She needs to bear in mind something that I've been looking at in the papers. And it's on all the papers, but again, and the Star on page 9, where there is mention yet again of a case that has been ongoing. It involved two people, among others, businesswoman Grace Wahungu and Sirisia MP John Waluke. They are once again before the Chief Justice, Justice Esther Maina of the Anti-Corruption High Court Division. Okay? The case is still ongoing. Remember this, these people had been sentenced, if you recall correctly. But given our judicial system, you are allowed to appeal.
Right.
It is a good thing. Okay. If you have a case that is pending, as this lady, Miss Ngirita, has, I would like clarity. At what point are you prohibited from seeking public office? Is it when you have a case or when you've been convicted?
The law says there are EACC or these bodies cannot bar you from vying.
Yes.
Unless you have been, one, convicted in a court of law and exhausted all avenues of appeal.
Right. So she has a leg to stand on.
She does.
The thing is, when you hear this and when you see Jubilee sending a statement immediately, are they asking all aspirants who are coming and saying, I'd like to join your party, I'd like to seek a nomination ticket? Is everybody being subjected to what Ms. Ngirita is being subjected to?
That is a valid question. And the question I would also like to add is, when you ask for all these requirements and you refer to, this is a clean party, whoever said it. I've seen adverts for people advertising their cars saying the cars are clean. I can get it.
Yes.
Meaning they've been washed, they've been scrubbed. And usually clean cars are not new, they're second-hand.
Yes.
Okay? So you're being told, despite the fact that there is a second-hand car, we can fool you into believing that it's actually
one lady new owner.
Yes. Careful driver.
Yes.
Under 100,000
kilometers. Yes. They don't tell you the road. It was doing that under 100,000 kilometers. But
a town car, they'll say.
Political parties, by their very nature, are governed by certain rules. So long as they abide by those rules, you could say the rules are what determine the level of cleanliness.
Yes.
However, the pertinent issue, I think, is the one you've raised, Eric. Are these standards being applied to everyone?
Should these standards be applied to all? I mean, should all political parties basically say, look, if you have got some question a matter in court, right, as the first port of call, we are not going to allow you to vie. And would that be violating people's
rights?
The people's rights?
It would be. It would be. You see, we are clear about this particular rule in our country that you are innocent until proved guilty. So why are you preventing an innocent person?
And that's the thing, is that the reason the court is there is to figure this all out.
Yes.
So if there is a case against someone or someone's name is mentioned in a case, the reason why it is in court is for them to determine the guilt or innocence of this individual. Now, while that determination process is going on, and you say that because of this, you then cannot do what 1, 2, 3, you are trampling on their rights. Because at the end of the day, innocent until proven guilty.
Yes,
1. 2,
but also,
two, you've also said, the same law has also said, until all avenues have been exhausted, then that is when now this person can be held, right? And none of those two things has happened
And
yet.
the avenues have just begun. And also consider, if then indeed you do get elected to this particular position that you seek, and moving forward, maybe not so swiftly, you are found to be guilty, do you then automatically lose that position?
No, until all avenues
have been exhausted.
Precisely so.
I can even be convicted and I can appeal.
Waluka is a member of parliament. He didn't lose that seat.
He didn't lose the seat. See, his all whatever is being is wrapped up in appeal.
You see, that is our law. So be it. Let Miss Garita go and compete with other Kenyans as her case goes on.
Let her join your party.
Yes.
The most important part or party in the chapter 6 of Kenya's constitution is the voter. Because chapter 6 talks about leadership, integrity. It even says, what integrity is, the threshold for integrity. Then we have all these other laws that come in. We have the Leadership and Integrity Act, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Act, the other one on public service. All these laws are supposed to be giving life to chapter 6 of the Constitution. But then they give life and they leave loopholes. And they allow people to jump hoops and get away with murder, practically. But the only one person who can make that final call is a voter. Because the voter has the sovereign power.
Yes,
and their choice cannot be questioned. So Ngirita can actually go all the way to the ballot. The person who should be blamed, if there's any blame to be passed around, if Ngirita ends up in parliament, is the voter of Nakuru County.
Yes. It's them to decide, really. Not her party. And these rules that they speak of.
But it's come on, guys, man. So why...
What is it?
The rule that seems to be applying here...
We joke around too much in this country.
We do. Eric, remember, what we seem to be saying here is that depending on who it is, there are people who are innocent until proven guilty, but there are some who are guilty until proven innocent.
Yes.
Because this is what seems to be the rule that is being applied to Ms. Ngirita.
But this is the thing, and do you know why I wouldn't even feel as emotional as you are right now? Because you know what? If from the very beginning you have not done this, in the middle of it now you want to take it seriously because you're doing it. Because you're now trying to sanitize, or as you are saying, the words that are coming out of your mouth are implying that you want to sanitize the entire process. Just like CT is saying, there are some people then you did not apply this standard to. You've allowed them, and you're just continuing to wallow in the mud with them, and it's all right for you to do that. So it would appear as though you're asking this particular individual to do 1, 2, 3, because you're trying to send a message, not just to her, but also to the camp where she may have been coming from. Come on. We can't take at face value like that. I'm saying sanitize from beginning to end.
I'm getting emotional about this, about the entire system. Okay? This whole thing of saying, trying to balancing rights, balancing right to administrative justice, balancing all these things. And we can clearly see that people are using the same laws and that argument for right to break the law. Why can't we just draw the line, man?
This is what I'm saying.
We should draw the line everywhere, not only from the beginning, from everywhere, and just say, look, there are some matters that are more serious than others. And so if a political party comes up with a constitution of the party and says, our constitution of the party says that if you have a pending case in court, if you have been charged in court, you shall not be our member. That constitution of a political party should be upheld. Right now, somebody can take such a party to court and the judge will say, yeah, the constitution of this party is unconstitutional because it goes against the rights of these individuals. Because when we start there, where do we end? But I say we have to start somewhere. We should encourage these things. We should.
Let me ask you something. Do you believe this party, honestly, as they're asking this lady to do these things, 1, 2, 3, do you believe that it is because there is some kind of sanctity they're trying to uphold?
No, of course not. Of course not. No. I'm not even on Jubilee. I am not on Jubilee. She will move from Jubilee, she will go to UDA, she will go to Democratic Party, she will go to... No party right now has a right to block her. Okay? Because no party constitution can really stand and say that our party constitution bars you from seeking an elective post.
When you have a case in
court.
You have
a case in court.
When our laws clearly also stipulate that you are
right.
innocent until proven guilty. Yes. Innocent. So right now, she is innocent.
I'm arguing against that principle and saying that we should find a way of drawing a line in these two principles. Define leadership and integrity and elevate it to a higher level and allow even a political party to deny you a ticket. Allow the IEBC to deny you nomination, even if you're coming as an independent. Because you have a case in court. Go first and clear that case in court. And then you can come and seek to represent people, especially if a case in court is something touching on integrity. Integrity is, do you have a corruption case in court? Integrity, do you have a fraud case in court? Integrity, do you have a murder or such capital offense case in court? Yes. We say for those ones, no. Now, if you have another case that you have been taken to court because of some other issues, maybe you have a divorce proceedings in court, that's fine.
You know, there's a lady who appears in one of Shakespeare's characters in the book of Hamlet called Queen Gertrude. The lady doth protest too much.
Yes.
Our political parties doth protest too much.
Methinks too.
Yes, because the question and the discussion around this was the insincerity.
Yeah.
Our political parties, unfortunately, are always trying to present themselves as people who are squeaky clean, an organization that is devoid of any ills that you may think of, and who represent the very highest of moral standards. When people keep talking about this same thing over and over and over and over again, surely, unfortunately, it bespeaks of the complete opposite as being the truth. But let me talk about something else, if I may divert ever so slightly. May I?
Yes.
35 years ago, in this country of Kenya, there was a gentleman who did something that had been considered unthinkable at the time. Completely unthinkable. He declared to Kenya and the world that he was HIV positive. The gentleman was called Dr. Joe Muriuki. He wasn't Dr. Joe Muriuki then, but he passed away. At the age of 27 is when he made this declaration. And because of efforts of one Joe Muriuki and others, this man endured stigma to the point where he even gave, in my opinion, definition to what stigma was, because it's not just him who was ostracized. People who would not touch what he had touched, they would not want to sit on the table next to him. His children were stigmatized, his wife. He went through hell. But he stuck to his guns. And he made it possible for people to understand that you could actually live with the HIV virus. And at the time he was making this declaration, being HIV positive was a death sentence. You're HIV positive, it was equals, as Eric likes saying, death. But 35 years later, the man passed away from esophageal cancer at KNH. Now, why is this story important? For me, it's important because, I work in the field of HIV and AIDS for a long time. But also significantly because you look at the courage of one individual and the far-reaching effects of that particular courage.
Yeah.
To say, actually, I think it's about and growing with the understanding of what you need to do.
Yes.
Being a champion to the point where you become a hero. Because what this man did is what now gave rise to many other discussions around the dreaded disease, to the point where it became understood that it was a disease like others. To the point where now, apart from people taking a whole truckload of drugs, you can even receive an injection.
Right.
You can even receive one drug. The part that people play in bringing about everlasting change or change that really benefits mankind, it's rare that the names are mentioned. So today I thought I would mention one Joe Muriuki.
What kind of recognition has Joe Muriuki received from the state?
If
as
he
much
has-
as far as you know.
As far as I know, I don't know of any. Let me put it that way. If there is, or if there are, then I pray that I be informed, but I do not know.
Because these are the people who really, really, really are trailblazers.
Yes.
In our country and in the region.
Yes.
And you know, when you go to places and you find, for example, at Cambry, if there was a wing that was named Dr. Joe Muriuki wing, you know, just immortalize the man.
Mm.
If there was a wing at the National AIDS Control Council or at NASCOP or at the ministry headquarters, at some point, we need to recognize such people. This is a man who should have been known and studied, mentioned in all our books, such that by the time he was dying, people would have known that, yes, when you talk about HIV in this country, when you talk about the efforts that have been made to normalize HIV in this country, you know, in the society, just knowing that HIV is a disease like any other, and you can get HIV, go test positive, get into treatment, and you shall live. Joe Muriuki played a very big role in this.
I think we do ourselves a huge disservice in terms of who the people, especially on this continent, the people are who make huge strides in development in any area.
Yeah.
I think we don't toot our horn enough about who these individuals are. I think we do not epitomize them at all. And in the even when we do, it's very little. Look at the people that you know about, that you think about them in any field that has been celebrated on a global scale. They're in books, they're on epitaphs, they're everywhere. Why is that? Because the people from where they are, their communities, celebrate them. They write about them in books. They put them in the histories of their countries. They have pages upon pages of things written about them and their works.
Yep.
They initiate those processes of doing. I don't think we celebrate people enough. And there are people who are doing monumental things. There are people who are making great strides by the work that they do. But we just don't, I don't know if we just don't celebrate our people. And we can.
It's really wrong. I'm saying this before I make my next scathing attack. I just want to confirm that it actually hasn't happened this way. Has the president acknowledged or sent a message of condolence to the family of Dr. Joe Muriuki?
In 2017, he lobbied to be elected by MPs who represent Kenya in the Arusha-based East African Legislative Assembly to represent people living with HIV. He wasn't successful. Now, one of the things that the new constitution that we have in this country brought into being was the clause that enabled certain people who live with disabilities to be represented. Now, the people who live with HIV are people who live with disabilities. You may not think so, but they do. And the numbers are not small. But the stigma attached, this is the unfortunate thing, the stigma attached to HIV is so daunting that I think most people don't even examine how it is they react to things related to HIV. Yes, even in this day and age when we think we've overcome many things, we have, but we still haven't overcome stigma.
No.
We've lessened it, but we haven't overcome it.
For the role that he played, so I've confirmed President Uhuru Kenyatta did not send a message of condolence, at least publicly on his Twitter or any other statement sent. He should have. And he should send a message of condolence. These are the people that we should be looking at. How do we elevate such leaders? Somebody is elected to parliament by their people. Yes, that is some serious recognition by people of a certain constituency, whether it's a ward, a parliamentary constituency, or a county. Yes, they go into parliament, they get into some leadership position in parliament. Yes, they get EGH. Okay? People like Dr. Muriuki fight another fight of elevating a conversation, of getting to a point where the President of the Republic recognizes HIV and says, all right, so HIV is going to be mainstreamed in our public conversations. We are going to have open our doors to partners to come and help us deal with HIV because of the efforts of such a man.
Yes.
But we don't mention them.
You know.
We don't give them. I don't know whether he even has. Maybe he has something like a head of state commendation, or
maybe he does. Maybe, but you see,
you
see, Eric, when you consider, when we talk about champions and people who are recognized by the state, I mean, this person is right up there among the champions, right up there. At a time when you're talking about a conversation which is unpopular, a conversation that people didn't want to hear, a conversation people didn't want to relate to in any form, he would stand up and continue. 35 years, somebody has fought this fight. 35 years. 35 years. And to the point where right now, the lessening of the stigma has enabled people to talk about HIV like you would other diseases. You are saying that the effort that an individual like this makes isn't recognized by the state. And yet, there are people who, as you say correctly, somebody is a civil servant doing his job, given a state commendation. What for?
Yeah.
What for? This man wasn't being paid to do what he was doing. He was doing it because he felt he ought to do it. When someone goes about inventing something that helps mankind, there's somebody called Alfred Nobel who decided he is going to put money aside, and that money is going to be used to recognize people who do this wonderful thing.
Yes.
There are many other people across this globe who have also done something similar, recognizing people for the efforts they've made to better the lives of humankind. Now, Joe Muriuki falls in that category of people who have done precisely that.
Yep. Being the first man to publicly come out in Kenya and say, I'm HIV positive.
Yes.
At a time when that was
a death sentence.
Yes.
Right, and then putting all self away, not just because he wanted people to know his status, but more so because he wanted other people to be protected. You know?
Yeah. It's 28 minutes to 8. Let's take a quick break, take a look at the traffic and weather, and then we'll look at other stories making headlines around the world. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to SpiceFM.
Having a health plan protects you and your family by covering expenses that may arise from unexpected illnesses or accidents. And when it comes to getting a quality and affordable health cover for you and your loved ones, cost does not have to be a barrier anymore. Thanks to MTIBA, where you can get a health cover for as little as 388 shillings per month without the need to carry cards around with you every time you need medical attention or a general wellness checkup. MTIBA has partnered with different technology and healthcare service providers like Safaricom, M-Pesa, Britam, and AAR to develop and distribute health insurance products that are easy to use and accessible on your mobile phone. To access affordable health covers, send an SMS with the word SPICE to 20253. You can also talk to the MTBA team on call via 0800 721 253 to access a range of quality and affordable health covers and medical checkup packages from the convenience of your phone.
The sun is peeking through the clouds at 16 in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 15. It's 15 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 27 and lows of 14. We'll see lows of 12 in a sunny Nyeri at 13, going to highs of 28. 25 will be the high in Eldoret, where it's currently clear, and sunny at 12. And we'll see lows of 11. Sunny in Mombasa at 25, highs of 32 today. We'll see highs of 31 in Malindi, where it's mostly sunny, currently at 25. Partly sunny conditions in Kisumu at 20, highs of 28 and lows of 19. While in Kakamega, it's sunny at 19, highs of 29 and lows of 15. Sunny conditions in Kampala at 19, highs of 28 today, and partly sunny at 25 in Dar es Salaam. 32 will be the high and lows of 25. It's cloudy at 17 in Johannesburg, highs of 27 and lows of 16, while in Lagos it's mostly clear at 26, highs of 33 and lows of 26, and it's now raining in Kinshasa at 24. We'll see highs of 33.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're
So
listening
we're in the
to
middle of traffic
Spice
hour now. It's just
FM.
begun, and we're seeing that traffic is building up on major streets in the city today. On the Thika Superhighway, coming into the city, hot and heavy, bumper to bumper action, all the way from Zimmerman heading out to the city. And it doesn't stop at the Pangani underpass, goes well into Moranga Road towards the Globe Cinema overpass, affecting Kipande, Kirinyaga, everywhere in the city centre. Mishmash of traffic. Watch out for that. If you don't need to be in the city, don't. We're looking at Kenyatta Avenue, quite packed as well. Coming off Huru Highway all the way through to Westlands from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Traffic everywhere you look. Jogo Road today is doing its thing, and we're seeing Landis Road quite hot and heavy getting towards the Kamkunji roundabout. All right, Raila Odinga Way is not looking good today. Very, very slow. Gong Road not too bad until you get to Community, and then things clog up. Coming out of Westlands, where it started early as well, we're seeing that. Limuru Road, in and outbound traffic. Not understanding that outbound traffic phenomenon, but that's what we have. Let's be careful as we're traversing the streets this morning. Things can get quite sticky. And then let's talk about it. Where might you be stuck this morning, or find a good route that folks can use? Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
It's 22 minutes to 8, Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. So, Azimio is registered. Did you know that?
Yes, I do.
Azimio la Umoja Coalition, the political formation fronted by President Uhuru Kenyatta and his brother Raila Odinga, is fully registered. This emerged as the coalition, which brings together Uhuru's Jubilee, Raila's ODM, and several other parties, applied to be enjoined in a case that's challenging the New Political Parties Act. Through their lawyer Paul Mwangi, the coalition is arguing that the petitions challenging the act before the High Court will directly affect them should the High Court issue the orders without their input. The orders and relief sought in the petition are greatly prejudicial to the Azimio la Umoja coalition yet the petitioners have not joined us to the proceedings. He's accusing the petitioners of deliberately locking them out of the case when they were the champions of the act, which allowed formation of coalition parties. This political parties law that was passed by both houses in Parliament and signed by President Uhuru Kenyatta on January 27 provides that political parties seeking to form a coalition must submit their agreement to the Register of Political Parties by April 9th and allows them to field joint candidates for elections. It also gives the registrar powers to regulate political parties and check party symbols, and also allows for the expansion of the political parties dispute tribunal from 6 to 18 members. But Katiba Institute, the Center for Open Governance, that's AFRICOG, the International Commission of Jurists, ICJ Kenya, the Kenya Human Rights Commission, and politician Celesio Thuranira are arguing that the law is unconstitutional. According to them, the act was enacted without public participation, and they want the court to suspend its application until the cases are heard and determined. It's the orders that they are seeking that Azimio argues will affect them. Because if this thing is now suspended and we've been registered, so now what do you say? Are you suspending our life?
Can't move.
Yeah. Yes.
So now, Siaya County.
Yes.
This health thing gets my goat.
Okay.
There's a storm at the Siaya Referral Hospital after 49 patients died in a month. Siaya County Referral Hospital is in the eye of the storm after 49 patients were reported to have died at the facility within 1 month. The County Assembly's Health Committee is investigating the deaths that happened in November last year. Probe was launched after some residents and local activists petitioned to the MCAs to look into the state of affairs at the hospital. And when he appeared before the committee on Tuesday, the hospital's medical superintendent, Alex Liech, was at pains to explain how so many patients could have died within a short period of time. And he's not pointing to anything like COVID. We did not see as many as 49 deaths in a month from the national statistics from the Ministry of Health. Couldn't have been that. All right. While it was reported that the patients died in November alone, the human rights activists claimed that the deaths were reported within the first 15 days of that month. Liech attributed the increased death at the hospital to COVID-19, which I have just said, because we are seeing from a National Tallying Centre, COVID-19 at the Ministry of Health, we did not see more than 10 deaths in a month over the last 1 year. Okay? We have had also so many cases of self-referral that are coming to the hospital. We have also been receiving those with terminal conditions. Some of the patients come here when they are critically ill and they later die, sometimes even before we attend to them. He was also pressed by the MCAs to explain the death of a 10-year-old child at the facility after the management reportedly declined to give her a referral to another hospital due to a hospital bill of guess how much?
A lot of money.
3,100 shillings.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. But the official told the ward reps that the hospital actually waived the bill after due diligence had been done, by which time, unfortunately, the girl had already died. And the social workers, they've been asked to facilitate the referral. However, the mother decided to take the child home without the doctor's advice. But there was a bit of a mishmash around that story, and this young girl had already passed. She left and went home without medication, they're citing financial constraints. The child was readmitted to hospital, according to him, and did not die. I guess you can't lie about whether your child died or not. At the hospital premises as alleged. Mother says she went home with a dead child. Hospital says she didn't die here. Anyway, controversy. The over 100 residents and the human rights group in their petition to the MCAs attributed the high number of patients dying at the hospital to poor services, which is now why they're in the eye of the storm. The petitioners also laid blame at Liech's doorstep, saying he's inexperienced and lacks the capacity to supervise a major health facility such as a teaching and referral hospital.
This is the superintendent, medical med sup.
Yes, sir.
And which is this teaching and referral hospital?
Siaya.
It's a teaching and referral
hospital.
It's
a teaching and referral hospital now.
That's what they said. He said that running a major health facility such as a teaching and referral hospital, which we know that it's a Siaya County referral hospital. It's not a teaching hospital. Okay. It's semantics.
Okay.
He's been accused of detaining patients who had been treated and discharged over non-payment of medical bills, and he had been ignoring the waiver policy. He says that they, as the petitioners, have said the hospital has been plunged into other problems because of his inaction, including detaining patients for as little as 3,000 shillings. They signed that because of his neglect, so many things had gone down the drain, and that, he's unable to supervise the duties of senior officers as he lacks the capacity to ensure professionalism is adhered to by the hospital staff. He's running a zoo here.
These are accusations.
These are accusations by the petitioners.
I see. And so now it...
residents and human rights activists in Siaya
So it's incumbent upon them to provide proof for these allegations, isn't it?
But
so they actually
49 patients cannot die in 15 days in one hospital.
They can actually.
Without due reason.
There's a lot to be said about our public hospitals, okay? First of all, is it true that 49 patients died in a day? Yes?
No, in a month.
Yes. Even more can die in a month.
Yes.
Infinitely more.
Is this irregular in this particular hospital?
Yes, that's where the bone of
That's the issue here. The issue here is that this particular 1 month, you've seen
49 patients die in the first 15 days of November.
Yes.
Registered as dead in the first 15 days of November. And we compare this to September, October, where how many people have been...
They did not give us that information.
And also, when you say 15 patients died, okay, let's
49
get...
49 died in 15 days.
Right. Let's get granular.
All right.
Okay. Details.
What did they
children?
die of?
Were they... yes.
Which Liech said, interestingly enough, he said, look, some people come here in critical condition and they're on the deathbed already. Some people come here with illnesses that they're already in their, last days.
Yeah.
We have no control over this. Now, when brought to his doorstep, the issue of this young girl who needed to go to another facility for treatment, and he wouldn't let her go because of this bill. Now, he let her go following the waiver policy when things had already gone south, and she ended up dying after getting
So
this
needed
waiver.
to go to another facility. What other facility? I mean, this is the county referral.
Yeah.
From county referral, you go to, what's the next referral?
National referral.
Level 6.
Yes. And that one now you're going to have to go to Kisumu.
No. Why she was going to another facility is because she could not afford this one.
The public hospital.
Yes. 3,100 shillings was her hospital bill that she couldn't pay.
It is understandable.
Yeah.
So she wanted to be referred downwards.
Yes.
Hey, I think what I read here is the state of the healthcare system.
Me too.
Because number one, the med sup at the county referral hospital is talking about the referral structure.
Yes.
That by the time some patients are getting to the county referral hospital,
they're finished.
They are already doing so badly.
Yeah.
They are death's
They're
door.
death's door. It's the second knock.
The doctors there are basically left with not much.
We can't do anything.
Which you ask yourself, so is it because it took them long, it took the lower hospitals long to refer them? I mean, by the time level 4 is referring to level 5, what is it that made them refer to level 5?
Sure.
And why did it take so long to refer? Or was it that this person was actually referred to level 5, but then the family did not have the means to transfer the patient to level 5, to actually take them to level 5? So there's a gap between the point where they were at level 4, where they were referred, and the time they arrived at level 5. Because those are the questions that you have to ask yourself. Why? Why is it that, level 5 becomes the place where people are coming to die?
From where we are getting details of this also, that the traffic in this hospital is very high. At this Siaya Referral Hospital, the traffic is extremely high, because he has also gone on to say that some of these patients come here before we even have an opportunity to see them. They croak. We have not even touched them. We've not seen them. They come in, and he was talking specifically about this month.
Yeah.
There are some that they didn't even get an opportunity to examine or check and see what was it, and they're gone.
There's a failure in the lower hospitals.
Yeah, there's a problem at looking
because
at the
people
levels.
not everybody was going to Siaya referral because they've been referred.
No.
They were going there as their first port of call.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a failure here where, how we see this all the time. People go to KNH here, straight up. People go to the other county referral hospitals. The Odaya KNH annex people go directly to the other KNH annex.
And the good thing
And
is
it's right next to a level 4.
But they don't go
They
there.
share a compound.
But they don't go
KNH and level 4. And you find people going to KNH.
You know, if you look at the wide-ranging accusations that have been leveled against the Med Super,
Yeah.
I have to wonder, what is it that they're basing these accusations on? Do they actually understand how a hospital functions? Do they even understand what the role of a med soup is? And in this specific hospital, do they know what it is that this particular med soup grapples with on a daily basis to ensure that this particular hospital
That it's
actually
running
functions
with some kind of semblance of order.
Yes,
You know?
and are they also saying that the people who appointed this person didn't know that this person had the ability to actually do what they're supposed to do? Because essentially they're saying they appointed an incompetent person who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yes,
Really?
Yes, that's what they're saying.
No.
He is inexperienced and lacks the capacity to supervise running a major health facility such as this referral hospital. He's also been accused of detaining patients and not even paying attention to their waiver policy. Come on. The hospital has been plunged into other problems because of his actions, which include detaining patients that have been discharged because of medical bills as little as 3,000 shillings. Come on. If you were able to handle things according to them, then, these issues would not be coming up.
There's a process to that waiver process that you hear of.
Indeed.
Hospitals have some social officers who are supposed to look and determine the financial capacity and capability of these families. And when they've done due diligence, they give a report. So it's not just the med soup wakes up and decides, okay, amnesty for everybody.
Today I'm feeling
it doesn't actually work that way. All right? Anyone who's been to a public hospital where there's a med soup and understands just what this individual grapples with on a daily basis, start with limited resources.
Yeah.
Start with just the demand for these limited resources.
And the huge population of patients who are coming in
Yes.
those doors on a daily.
Yes.
In addition to the ones that are residents there.
Yes.
And then the in-house challenges.
Yes.
Supplies, delayed in supplies because we made the requisition. It has to go to the county.
Procedure.
Campsite. Has not.
And then somebody's actually alleging that because this person may be youthful, that
They're inexperienced.
And then how can, in a hospital, people die? 49 of them in 15 days. Wow.
I get the impression that some of these people had a preferred person that they would have hoped would be the person who was the med soup. And this particular person was not their preferred choice. So there's hardly anything this person was going to do that they were going to
That
approve
would have
of.
been all right.
No, it doesn't matter what he did. No, I don't buy it.
The issue here is because if you listen to the Kenya National Union of Nurses Secretary for Siaya, Sylvester Nganda, and his clinical officer's counterpart, Kennedy Opio, who had been summoned by the committee over the matter, they both claimed that Liech's appointment was erroneously done. They said Liech was unable to supervise the duties of senior officers because he lacks the capacity to ensure professionalism is adhered to by the hospital staff.
So they are part of the employment committee in the hospital that determines who should be employed and also determine the capacity and the educational wherewithal that is required for this person to be employed. Really?
However, City, could they actually be blowing the whistle?
Could they be speaking some
Could
truth?
they be blowing the whistle and saying, look, we know, we are here. We are professionals in this sector. We have members who've worked in this hospital. We have clinical officers. We have nurses who've worked in this hospital. And they all know the process and the appointment that led to this med soup. And they say that there's something that was unprocedural in the appointment of this particular person to head this institution. Could they be blowing the whistle?
It is a possibility, but do you see why I'm blowing hot on this particular issue? It's because I have actually experienced something similar in places that I worked in. Somebody is appointed as a med soup and they're considered young. And anything that could be leveled against this person is leveled against them.
Because they are young, people have died.
And they don't come from that particular area, and they're this, and there's this, and there's the other. A year down the line, the hospital this person is working at is transformed before our very eyes. I know because I went and asked, how is it possible that you've done this? He said, but every year we get funding for this. I said, every year? He said, yeah, every year without fail. We get funding to do this and do the other. So what have we done? He said, I've used the money for what we were supposed to do it. You use it for. So, of course, the question was, so these are the people whom we've been working with. What on earth have they been doing with the
all
money?
this time?
So, up until that point, when people saw the changes, that's when they toned down the negative rhetoric. And so when he now left for further studies, people said, he shouldn't have gone.
He was a good person.
Yes, he was a performer. He was this. Does that not sound very Kenyan to you?
So it was corruption fighting back over the appointment.
Precisely.
Now I'm saying in this particular case, it could be either of those two. Corruption fighting the appointment, or corruption being exposed.
Yes, it is possible.
In the appointment.
Yes, it is possible. Yes, it is possible. But
because it all comes down to the med soup.
Yes, it is.
But it's not about everything else. But
there's
the
something
doctors,
else
the
that
staff,
I'm saying here,
it's
Eric,
a med soup.
That we know the universities that train our doctors. This doctor didn't come from some far-flung country that we do not know of.
Yes.
Trained here in Kenya.
Yes.
They trained.
Yes.
Okay? So training, uniform.
Yes.
Okay? You will not leave medical school and be made a med soup.
No, come on.
Okay?
Yeah. You've gone
you
up the
will
ranks.
not finish your internship and be made a med soup.
You've risen up the ranks.
And even when you've gone through internship, even, my friend, you will know how a hospital functions. Now, this experience they speak of, you acquired by working.
Yes.
So when they say that this individual clearly is operating in this manner because of his lack of experience, then that's just a political gimmick. It doesn't. Can you be made a med super and you don't have experience?
Yes.
You've come
in this
from
Kenya.
Internship.
In this Kenya.
You've come from internship and you're a med super.
No.
It's not possible, man.
No. Is it
experience?
It's you have some experience, yes. But if there was somebody else in the panel who had 5 years experience and you had 3 years experience, and then you were picked, and then you clearly also don't have any managerial qualities and capabilities, don't have any other further training on management and all, it's
there
all
are
up
people
there.
who have experience, call it 10, even 15 years of experience.
But they're not managers.
My friend, yes, their managerial capacities are as dead as a dodo. You wonder who gave this person this job in the first place. You're right, it is possible. But these ladies doth protest too much. There is too much.
Hullabaloo.
Too much.
It's being politicized.
Yes, too much.
But also, it's I know it's being politicized, but how else would you handle it?
Sure, but there's a
if you are the community members,
and you're seeing people dying,
and you're seeing this is happening in the hospital, and you know you're not new to Jerusalem. You have seen this hospital and how it has performed before, and now you've seen how it's performing now. You are seeing the number of queues, the number of patients who are queuing here, how long it's taking them to get treated, how many of them are dying, what they're being treated, what kind of treatment they're getting through.
Yes.
How would you raise this matter?
It is a possibility. But unfortunately, I'm stuck on one other possibility, the political angle, where I've been in Jerusalem all my life. In fact, some of the stones that have helped put up Jerusalem, I personally brought those stones. Somebody new comes about and is changing these things.
And doesn't include me.
And is not talking to me who knows everything about these things.
I'll frustrate
this young person who came here just the other day.
What does he know?
In fact, when he was here for internship, I'm the one who helped him understand the ABCD. Now it's bringing about change. No. I am saying this from the point of view of that I've seen this on not one occasion, on many occasions. When you first hear it, you think, oh, there's something. As you look further, you wonder, God Almighty. So there's a red flag, and everything you say, Eric, is a possibility. In all honesty, it is a possibility. And it is possible that somebody is appointed because somebody likes them. But you're talking about a doctor trained in this country, has gone through those processes, and to be painted as this absolutely incompetent.
It hurts more.
That one?
Hurts more.
That one, no. If you know how people are trained, even the person who's as lackadaisical as you like and doesn't make an effort, believe me.
There's something they know.
They
if
don't
they
work,
shake their head, it will make
Eric,
noise.
they don't work solo. There are other people whom they work with who make sure these things happen. This person's role as a supervisor is not to principle everything that happens. No. They are heads of departments. That's their job. In every department.
There are others.
They report to him.
Sour.
So how is it that everything now is just him who isn't supervising? What is he not? No. It is possible,
Kunakidu.
but there's too much.
Let's talk about cyberbullying, shall we? As we talk about protecting our children from cyberbullies online.
How can you protect your children from cyberbullies? There are things that you can do. Teach your child online responsible behavior, including the proper ways to interact with people and the use of kind language online, whether addressing a friend or a stranger. You can also keep the mean or threatening messages or text as evidence, because when the matter is escalated at school or to the parents, the matter can be addressed. It usually involves, now you are also asking, what does cyberbullying involve? It involves posting or sending messages that threaten people or put people down, leaving people out of online games or social forums, spreading nasty rumors online about people, setting up unkind or unpleasant fake social media accounts using real photos and contact details, impersonating someone and sending mean messages to others on their behalf, trolling or stalking people online, sharing or forwarding people's personal information, posting insulting or embarrassing photos or videos of people, harassing other people in virtual environments or online games, and sending hurtful messages or threats via messaging platforms. It can happen anytime, at day or night. Anywhere there's internet or access via mobile, this can happen. And the CA is saying there are ways that we can be careful about this.
We'll be talking about how you can report such cases, because let's be honest, in schools nowadays, this is rampant.
Order of the day.
Very good morning to you, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Morning, this is Muthui. President Uhuru Kenyatta has criticized government officials for frustrating potential foreign investors. Kenyatta lectured his officials, saying they should be helping make Kenya the first point of contact for any would-be investor, not the last. He asked officials to help Kenya attract investors and not become a roadblock. Businessman Richard Ngatia has announced that he will relinquish his presidency at the helm of the Kenyan National Chamber of Commerce and Industry before he is sworn in as Nairobi governor should he win. Ngatia, who is also the managing director and CEO of Megascope Healthcare, said the rules governing KNCCI states that anyone who wishes to run for an elective seat can do so. Ngatia, also the chairman of the Great Lakes region, said that he will adhere to the rules, and should he be successful, he will ensure that he has handed over his duties and roles from all his dealings. Jubilee Secretary General Raphael Tuju has dismissed rumors that the party has barred Anne Gerita, one of the prime suspects charged over the National Youth Service scandal, from joining its ranks. Gerita jumped ship to Jubilee from Deputy President William Ruto's UDA party in a bid to contest for the Nakuru County Woman Representative seat at the August general elections. According to Tuju, Jubilee is committed to welcoming new party members to the political outfit irrespective of their previous political affiliations, hence claims that the party's headquarters that blocked Gerita's move are baseless and unfounded. And Deputy President William Ruto has accused the Raila Odinga-led opposition party of betraying Kenyans. According to Deputy President William Ruto, the opposition abandoned its watchdog role and instead assumed the function of a partner in government. The DP, who spoke in Kajiado County, asked Kenyans to reject the opposition for failing to deliver on its mandate, claiming the Odinga team is hoodwinking Kenyans that it will fight corruption if voted into power, yet it has been facilitating it. And Central Organization of Trade Union Secretary General Francis Atwoli has taken swipe at Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi, terming him as ungrateful. Atwoli castigated the ANC boss over his constant criticism of President Uhuru Kenyatta, Orange Democratic Movement Party leader Raila Odinga, and himself.
He's a cheap politician. He can disappear on a shilling. Let somebody tell him like that. He has ashamed us. We come from a place where it rains, where we have Omorele, we have Lipoka, we have everything.
That spoken court boss argued that President Kenyatta and Odinga had greatly contributed to creating a name for Mudavadi, but instead of showing gratitude, he was now insulting them. National Assembly Speaker Justin Muthui has reiterated that the Mount Kenya region can field a candidate in the August general election and does not need to back anyone. Speaker Muthui noted that the vote-rich region was well capable of going to the ballot without necessarily being sidelined in the politics as lacking a worthy contestant. Speaking during a consultative meeting with Kikuyu elders from Kutus in Kirinyaga County, Muthui said the central region was in dire need of coming up with a dominant political party that represented its people. Muthui similarly called on residents to mount support behind his Democratic Party, which he said sought to address the interests of its people. And Japanese contractor EAA Company Limited is in fresh trouble with Kenyan authorities as it emerges that the firm allegedly hired a quack advocate to fight its blacklisting from public procurement in Kenya. The Public Procurement Regulatory Authority has asked police to investigate the firm for allegedly hiring Calvin's Omondi Omino and Clean and Omino Associates to challenge its blacklisting from participating in public procurement in Kenya. The PPRA in June 2021 slapped EAA with a 3-year ban from public procurement in Kenya after ruling that the firm used false documents in 3 bids for the lucrative Kenya Bureau of Standards tender between 2011 and 2019. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, there's traffic on the Thika Superhighway that's coming into the city. It's also building up on Gong Road, getting out towards Huru Highway, which between Bunyala Road and Kenyatta Avenue is not too bad. But then you're going to get beyond that, going towards University, where it's going to clog up some as you're getting then into Westlands. All right, what are we looking at beyond that? Coming off of General Motors, some traffic as you're heading towards Airtel, and that slows things down a little bit. Gong Road also building up. Coming out of Westlands, we see that Thika Superhighway doing its thing, as well as Kiambu Road in and outbound. And Limuru Road not too bad as you're getting towards Forest Lane and Wangari Maathai Way. This morning, it gets a little bit better. Let's keep an eye on things this morning, folks. A few minutes after 8 o'clock. Let's keep it moving. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
It is 6 minutes after 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room. We are very happy that you're tuned in this morning. Wherever you are around the country or around the world. SpiceFM KE on Facebook and YouTube. And also we're having the conversations on Twitter, SpiceFM KE. On Instagram, SpiceFM KE. We're on SpiceFM around the country. In Nairobi, it's 94.4, 87.9 in Mombasa, 102.5 Kisumu, 96.0 Nakuru, 96.7 in Eldoret, Nyeri, 90.9 and Malindi, 97.7. For the next 1 hour, we are also live on KTN Home, and City Muga has the proverb.
I do. A fish and bird may fall in love, but the two cannot build a home together.
Oh, way. A fish and bird may fall in love, but the two cannot do what?
Build a home.
Together.
Together. Separately, yes. Together, no.
No.
Together?
Together.
No.
Separately?
Each can build their home.
Yes.
But you can be loving each other from where you are.
If you
living.
like, man.
Yes.
You can even be pen pals.
Yes. Fish cannot get into the bird's nest.
Bit tricky. Bird also cannot get in the fish's nest.
Unless you're a kingfisher.
There's that little detail, yes?
Yeah.
You're right.
That's okay.
Kingfisher is a bird that fishes and it goes into the water to get its food.
Okay, but does it live there? Can it live there?
That's not the point.
Surely. So look at this one. Look at this one. Look at this one. So, something interesting is happening in the country. There was a meeting yesterday, a breakfast meeting organized by the Kenya Editors Guild, and which brought together, civil society and other actors on matters of election. Even the Chief Justice was present. Election Observers Group, ELOG, was present, and others. The Crown Trust, which is a civil society organization, was present. Now, the executive director of Crown Trust, Daisy and Amdani, called for funding of the civil society from the government. This is what she said, and she's been quoted in the Standard this morning verbatim. The state has a responsibility in recognizing the role that civil societies play and should actively look at ways of funding those organizations, she said. Amdani raised concerns on donor dependency within civil society organizations, citing various challenges that come with donor funding being the only resource. Donors have in the past been curtailed from resourcing civil society organizations by the state. Donors also struggle to strike a balance between not offending their host nations and their ability to ensure that democracy is upheld. The activist also condemned the demonization of the civil society by the government in what she said is an attempt to escape accountability and blaming them that they are working on regime change. Now, listen. Basically, the thrust of what Ms. Amdani is saying is we have civil society organizations in the country, okay, playing in various sectors. Many of these civil society organizations are funded by money organizations or countries that are not domiciled in Kenya, okay? Because of that high dependency on external donors, several things then happen. One, you end up having to conform to the donor's wishes. You end up having to conform to the donor's programming. You end up having to conform to the donor's agenda in your sphere. Now that does not allow for maybe a robust civil society. Number two, that so much dependence on foreign donor funding also means that should donors, for one reason or the other, through their own volition or through some conversations that they have with the government or through some state programming, be unable to fund civil society, then the civil society dies. Now, to protect the important role that civil societies play, the civil societies should be funded by the state, and not state. Okay? Not government. State. Such that Kenya knows that from its budget, there's some money that goes into the civil society arm. And they do whatever programs they are doing, have come up with modalities of sending this money out. Remember, if it's coming, it's state funding, Auditor General then comes in. Auditor General will audit all the money that has gone to these organizations. And you'll know this is what they were given the money to do and this is what they did. Okay? But we are here ensuring that civil societies continue to play the important role that they play in the country. Is it a good direction to take, or is it a tricky direction to take?
Well, it sounds really pretty in words, but in reality, if the president has already been set, taking Kenya as an example, and the roles that we've seen civil society play, it would appear as though that civil society is constantly sticking it to the state in terms of how they operate. So now you can see the difficulty that would then create a state department, for example, fund it, and then say different civil society organizations then would get a portion of this funding for them to be able to carry out their role, which, if we look at it, it's a watchdog for the people, for the society.
Yes.
Are you making sure that certain things are operating within the country in a certain manner? Are we checking on excesses? Are we checking on leadership excesses? Are we checking on governance excesses? Are we checking on authoritarianism and dictatorship and things like that? Making sure that those things are kept, at a minimum. At the same time, you're looking at human rights abuses and things like that, any excesses that come about. So essentially, what you're saying is that now fund this in order for us to be able to check you on behalf of the society.
Yes.
That's what we are essentially. That is what the call is.
Yes.
So that, number one, we don't have to depend on these other people who are coming externally to talk about our internal issues, one. Two, he who pays the piper calls the tune. So if he's giving you this money, he's going to tell you, he or she's going to tell you then how you're going to operate. It becomes now kind of tricky now when you say the things that we have been sticking to you over time, now fund us in order to be able to continue doing those things. Do you see the state saying, okay, no problem, we'll give you the money to now check us?
You know, one of the things that raises the trust quotient among citizens with their government and with their state and with their rulers is accountability and openness. Now, just in the most basic of forms, the civil society is formed by individuals, the goal being to try and make life better for the people in that community. In that water. That's really the understanding.
Yeah.
So when government sees the questioning of the activities as being something nefarious, something that is evil, something that is unwanted, we already have a problem. Because essentially we are actually being told that they don't really particularly like to be questioned or to be asked. And yet they must, because they function for us and because of us. What makes it possible for them to function is again from us. It's called taxes. It's called revenue. So really, where is the problem and the fault when the person who has actually made it possible for you to be able to do what you do is saying, folks, a little accountability, please? And you're saying, no. And you're saying, pause.
Excuse me.
We are the ones, in fact, forget what we think. Our constitution says sovereignty of blah, 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 us. So us is talking to you, who is also part of us, and we're telling you, this is how I want to go about it. Now, the government can't check itself as comprehensively as we would like. Now, when the citizens, because these civil society people are us, they are our citizens, they are us, and they're saying, just this opaque nature in which you like to function, maybe what you like, but we are saying, for the benefit of the citizenry, let us have a little discussion that are honest and open. And we're also telling you, please, so that we can do our job well, just like you fund government ministries and so forth to do these things, you even have taken it upon yourself to have an ombudsman, okay? So we, who are looking at various aspects of ombudsmanship within the country, but we're calling ourselves civil society, we're saying, a slice of the pie, of the pie, please. So
Now,
that, yes.
On the basis on which now you started that, taking all these things into consideration, all things remaining constant, do you see a situation where, as things are now, they'll say, actually, you know what, you're right. We invite you to come. Here is the funding. We invite you to come now and ask us questions about would-be nefarious activity, and we will be willing to give you the answer.
I think Sheila, Daisy Amdanyi, who is on the line and will be speaking to her shortly, I think she directed that call to the wrong recipient. That the government should seriously consider. It should be to the people. The people have already, in the constitution of Kenya, the people have already said that they want to establish some independent institutions. Independence means what? Independent that they are checking. We already have the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Okay? This is basically, if we just want to call it civil society. What is their job is to ensure that they are checking that the government is upholding the human rights of citizens in all spheres. We have the Gender and Equality Commission. Same. It was just pulled out of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, but same. Kenya National Commission on Human Rights is funded by the state. Now, of course, the questions we can ask ourselves is whether they get adequate funding, whether they have, they're toothless, whether then all those we can bring in, but we already have funding of this. Now, I think what Daisy is saying is let's expand it. and have all the other civil societies playing in the country
Benefiting
in
from
various
this funding.
benefiting from some sort of funding from the state.
Mm.
But maybe I'm misquoting her. She joins us on the line. Daisy Mdanyi, Executive Director of Crown Trust. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for joining us in this conversation. So you spoke yesterday, and you said there's need for the government to consider funding the civil society, and you've heard what we're saying. I am saying that I think you are directing this to the wrong audience. You shouldn't have been talking to the government, but to say that we, the people, should demand.
Well, maybe we can direct also through the people. But the reason I was saying that is because one of the biggest challenges that we've had is government accusing civil society organizations of being foreign agents. Okay, and we know that civil societies depend almost solely on donor funding, because there are no local mechanisms to access funds, for local civil society organizations. Now, if we understand the value that civil society brings, so civil society is important for democracy and participation of the people, which our constitution centers, as something very critical to a functioning democracy, public participation. So while you talk about the different commissions that offer checks and balances, remember that these commissions actually check institutions of government. But civil society provides access for citizens and different groups to engage in public debate, present their opinions on the different issues affecting them, at the different levels. So it's one way of citizens to be engaged in the decision-making processes, but also to check their representatives, right? So investing in civil society, for especially a state that values public participation, then becomes good strategy. Think about political parties, because political parties are central to our democracy. We're a multi-party democracy. And so to ensure that we have a functioning multi-party democracy, one of the things the state does is provide resources from our budgets for political parties. And within the law requires these political parties to, among other things, other than organize themselves politically. And remember that being funded by government doesn't mean as a political party that you're beholden to government. You can be in the opposition. Opposition political parties also access the funds depending on the number of representatives they have. But you have a requirement to ensure the participation of citizens, women, youth, persons with disability, also to carry out civic education. So in the same vein, civil societies actually bring a lot of value, solve a lot of problems within society, carry out research, raise awareness, conduct civic education. So there are many activities that civil society does that are of benefit to government. Even some of those that maybe government may find as an irritation, holding them to account, calling them out, going to courts to seek the intervention of the courts against the excesses of government. All these are necessary for a vibrant and functioning democracy.
I hear you say that. Daisy, if I can jump in here and ask you, I hear you saying that, and I ask the question again, that with all things remaining as they are, because it is in this situation now that this call is being made to say, look, state, you need to step in here and do 1, 2, 3 in terms of funding these organizations to do it. Do you think, imagine it, that there is already irritation, as you've put it, at the questions that are being asked, at trying to be held to account? Do you think then that they would take a step further and say, all right, well, here is this provision so that you can check me some more and ask some more questions?
Well, you see, it also depends on the character of government that you're dealing with. Most of these mechanisms are supported by legislation. And so if you have a government that adheres to the rule of law, then they also allow themselves to be fettered within the law so that their overreach is also restrained. You then have to bear that irritation. What we have is we've been dealing with an authoritarian government that actually extends its reach beyond the rule of law, so that we have government. I mean, we've seen it even with the institutions, the constitutional institutions that are tasked with offering checks and balances. They're actively fought. We've seen the government actively fighting the judiciary, reducing their budgets, fighting the Office of the Auditor General. But it's all part of escaping accountability. But that is when you're dealing with a government that really doesn't value the rule of law or, being held to account. So it really depends on the character of government that you're dealing with. And of course, those are some of the challenges that we then have to face because of the political choices that we make when we go to vote. So there are two different issues. Of course, in Africa, and we've seen that governments really are trying to restrain and constrain activities of civil society because, by and large, there are governments that don't want to be held to account. And because these activities of civil society are, by the way, it's part of freedom and right to associate, so they can't really curtail it entirely. But then what they can do is run smear campaigns, lodge accusations against you the way they have. I mean, when you think that the term evil society, which was a term that was coined for civil society simply because they were pointing out issues against, about what government was doing, was coined by government, then you understand the challenges that we're dealing with. But remember that even the funds that we receive from donors is taxpayers' money.
Daisy, let me ask you this question. I have to ask, because I heard you did you refer to this government of ours as an authoritarian government?
But it is.
How exactly? Let me explain to you why I'm asking the question. Because, I mean, as you were speaking, I was thinking, which government do I know of on this planet that pushes back on being held to account? Which one? It's the degree that matters. But are we saying that there is one country in the world where you can point to one where the government is open to criticism, the government is open to being questioned, the government doesn't push back and doesn't want to do things the way it wants to? The problem I think that we seem to have is we are new to this concept of democracy, and I'm saying we are new to it, and the understanding of the limits that we have, and somehow this pushback and what we're calling the struggle is something that is normal, and there's no day it's going to come to an end. The citizens will always push for more space, and those in government or the state will always push back. But it doesn't make the government authoritarian, does it?
No, well, let me say this. I don't think that we are new to democracy, as you say, because many of what we celebrate today as gains, from our constitution are as a result of the fight for that expansion of the democratic space from the time of Moi, when we had a one-party state. Now, where we had a proper authoritarian government that was also supported by the law, where we had, it was one party. So if you were not in the ruling party, you were out in the political cold. Government was to be followed unquestioningly. You didn't question government. And, much of the laws, the way they were structured, supported that kind of thing. Now, we transitioned into Mwai Kibaki, where he actually allowed freedom of that democratic space and the right to be questioned. We didn't have him giving that kind of pushback, the kind that we are seeing. The reason why I'm saying that we have an authoritarian government right now, we have a government that is seeking strict obedience to the dictates of the executive, the presidency, despite the fact that we have, in terms of our constitutional framework, that expanded democratic space. A case in point being the recent push for the overhaul of the Constitution, where we found that the fact that the presidency had decided on this course of action, the law be damned, the process be damned. We are doing exactly as we want. We want our end result. So at the expense of people's right to choose, people being told, you go to the chief's office and you're told, if you want services, you're going to have to sign up. And then, on the other hand, we are told people have signed, but people have signed under duress. So when you have a government operating like that, how is that not authoritarian? Within
Daisy, to be fair, Daisy, that matter is still being litigated in court, and we still haven't, gotten to a point where we can say for sure that the state violated the people's rights in pushing for BBI. However,
I know that those are technical.
Yes, those are technicals. But you're putting it like it's a case.
Listen, yep. Those are technicalities, and I can understand where you're coming from. You don't want to be sued for discussing matters that are before the court.
I also want to balance the conversation. I agree on some matters of what you're saying, but also we've got to balance the conversation.
Yes, but when you're dealing with a government that is seeking blind submission to its authority, right now, even as we speak, we have opposition parties only in name. Actually, we are operating like a one-party state. There is no opposition, right?
Yeah.
And this is by the hand of the executive, okay? So that, individual freedoms are not being safeguarded. Things are being pushed in a certain way to achieve a certain end, and any dissenting voice is not being entertained.
Okay, so let's come back and stick to the conversation. And the conversation here is whether civil society organizations should receive public funding. And you've given a very good example. Political parties, in order for us to entrench our democracy, political parties are receiving state funding. So should civil societies, because of the role that they play in entrenching our democracy, in having a properly functioning democratic society, should they also be funded? Daisy, thank you very much for at least shedding light on this. We'll take a break, and then we want to hear from Kenyans on what they think about this. Should civil society organizations receive state funding? This is a conversation that we're having this hour. Who's been with us on the line? Daisy Mdanyi, the Executive Director of Crown Trust. We are live on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, and online. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly and hear from you. 0719 012 600.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making his a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kanu, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Mathare, presidential tour. Yeah? And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the enemies says, hata wewe kuna jina kama yangu.
19 degrees and sunny conditions in Nairobi, highs of 27 and lows of 15. At 17, Nakuru is sunny at 17, highs of 27 and lows of 14. And we're looking at mostly sunny conditions at 16 in Nyeri, highs of 28 and lows of 13. It's sunny at 15 in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 11. We're looking at sunny conditions in Mombasa, highs of 32 and lows of 25. And we'll see the sun up in Malindi, highs of 31 and lows of 26. Partly sunny conditions at 22 in Kisumu. It'll go up until 28, highs of 29 in Kakamega, where it's partly sunny at 23. Mostly cloudy conditions in Kampala at 21, highs of 28 and lows of 19. And Dar es Salaam now with sun and rain. It's sunny now at 27, highs of 32 and lows of 25. 17 degrees and cloudy in Joburg, highs of 27 and lows of 16. And it's raining to clear the Harmattan in Lagos now at 25. We'll see highs of 33. Sunny conditions now after the rain in Kinshasa at 24, highs of 33, back down to lows of 24.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, still continues in most parts of the city this morning, right in the middle of traffic hour. For most of these streets, the Thika Superhighway still hot and heavy this morning. Gong Road has joined all of this, joining with Huru Highway, getting out into the city. North, south, east or west, everywhere you look this morning, there is some traffic. Coming from the northern part of the city, Outer Ring Road not looking too bad, coming off of Mombasa Road at the Cabanas there. So it should be all right. You can get through this without too much of an issue. The western part of the city, traffic. Eastern part of the city, a little bit here and there. Then we're looking at Kiambu Road where there's in and outbound traffic, and that continues for some time. Let's keep an eye on things, shall we? Spice FM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
25
Spice
minutes
FM,
to 9.
Nairobi.
This conversation, it continues. We want to hear from you. 0719-012-600. After that conversation with Daisy Amdani of Crow, should civil societies receive public funding? See, just like political parties do. Should civil societies receive public funding? Just like civil political parties do. We want to hear from you. 0719-012-600, or post your comment on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, where we are also posting this question as a poll. Should they?
Actually, yes. But if you look even at countries that actually support civil societies in their countries, it is never just the government. They're not the only ones who support them. No. There's always some private donor funding, there's some foundations, some money pulled together. It's never entirely one source. But the governments that actually support and openly support civil society are governments that are communicating to their people that they are open and they are willing to be questioned.
So some of those governments that actually fund our civil societies, they're also funding their own civil societies in their countries.
Yes, they do.
America, USAID will fund local civil society organizations.
They will. There's money that is put aside specifically for such things.
FCDO in the UK will do the same.
Yes. In fact, if you look at the funding capacity of these governments, they put a lot of money aside. It's the same sort of thinking that sees them putting a lot of money aside towards research, medical and otherwise. A lot of money. And some of that money is what finds its way here into this country. But they do it in their own home countries first. So this is something they've gotten and they've understood.
But if the civil society in Kenya was doing such a sterling job, why aren't we seeing private people just saying, okay, I'd like to contribute to civil society? Do you hear?
The sort of scrutiny that civil society calls for, okay, is something that, when I say that we are a young democracy, I mean precisely that. A mature democracy means you are able to stand in the full glare of the light and not flinch too much.
Exactly.
Okay? Us, even a slightest sliver of light
Even
gets
if
us
they
scampering
light
and
a
running.
candle.
Yes. So we haven't gotten there. We talk about open. We talk a great deal. We talk about the need for us to be able to be accountable. We talk.
This is it.
But we don't we don't enjoy it. Now, we haven't gotten to the stage where you even recognize, appreciate, and value our own laws, our own civil rights. We are getting there. We are moving there. And civil society does an excellent job of pushing the country in that direction. But you see, we are not there
yet.
So, no, we are not. And when you look at the business enterprise that you talk about in this country, a lot of our businesses in the world that people make arises not from direct competition, but from crony capitalism. I know so and so.
Yeah,
I know.
hook your pal up.
And I know a
So
guy.
if you finance the civil society, then the government hits you hard.
Yes, exactly.
Let's go to the phone lines. 0719-012-600. Should civil societies receive public funding? You know, just like political parties. Karanja in Naivasha, good morning.
Good morning, Eric Ndu and Kitty.
Good morning.
Now, let me say this to Eric. You know what happens 2013 election petition, And a 2013 election petition. Eric, the CK, I think, I don't know what was represented by, is it good that I mentioned somebody who I know was involved in this civil society?
Yes.
Thing,
Go ahead.
You know the Minor Care Commission,
Yes.
You know what happened in 2013 during the presidential petition, So long as the civil society can receive money, they can receive money from the known source. But you know, we are asking our question. This civil society led by the then Minor Care Commission, So unless we have a clear source where these people get this money, I think we can say that they can be funded by the government, like what happened there, political parties.
So they should receive funding from the government.
Yes, that's why they can receive funding from the government. From a known source, but not a known source.
Okay. Thank you, Karanja. Let's hear from Lydia in Parklands. Good morning.
Good morning, SpiceFM. Thank you for your good work. I wanted to say that, yes, public should receive the public funding so that they are rounded up each time the government has created a law or some kind of decision making. They should alert the public. We want you to be here to witness what has happened, and please confirm whether it is in order or is there anything that needs to be added. So this kind of unity and help is correct.
Should they? I think, Lydia, I hear what you're saying, but then the question here is: should the state pay for these activities? Should the state put the money aside to have these things that you're talking about then happen? Put the money behind it.
Yes. They should put some fund like that so that they know how they should round up all these public get-togethers. That, you know, if you go this month, I can go next month, or you know you're going traveling, can you go? Each one must take care of each other.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you. This is also saying, basically, if you have this civil societies funded, then the government can say, we are rolling out, for example, civic education campaign, and we are calling the civil society because you're receiving money from us. This is a program.
Be here.
Go conduct civic training. Dennis in Ahero, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Dennis?
Yeah, I'm quite fine. I would like just to make some contribution.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that it is right for civil societies to get money from the government.
Why?
Yeah, reason being, the civil societies are supposed to be independent.
Oh, we lost Dennis. So it says they should be independent. And if they get state funding, then they lose that independence. They lose that delinking.
You see,
So you have state, you have business, you have fourth estate, you have civil society.
That's our thinking. And yet, our own country, we are awash with examples of institutions that are actually funded by the government, and yet they are independent.
Are they really?
Yes. Let's look at the judiciary. Is it not funded by the government?
Yeah, is it independent?
Is it independent?
So the judiciary is an arm of government.
Yes, actually there is even an arm. Forget just funded. It's an arm of government.
Let's talk about those other institutions that are put in place
Yes.
in our constitution, so they can provide checks and balances.
Yes.
To the working of government.
Yes.
Which is judiciary, legislature, executive. IEBC, independent.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, it is.
IPOA, independent.
Yes.
Kenya National Commission on Human Rights.
It's independent. Right. I'm not going to blame the structure and the independence.
When you say independent, is it because then is what is mandated to be, that it ought to be independent? That's what you're saying.
No, it's not just ought to be, it is. The functioning of it is often determined by the individuals who are put in positions of authority to run the organization. Now, if you have some wishy-washy characters who are supposed to be in charge of those organizations, and their wishy-washiness is what comes to the fore, it may mar and it may darken the image or the independence of the institution. But the institution is independent.
As was designed to be.
Yes, it is.
Leah, good morning.
Good morning, Matthew.
How are you, Leah? There's something not right with the line, Leah. Are we on speakerphone?
Sorry?
Something is not clear with the line.
Is it now?
It's better.
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. Now, I don't know what is with the fear that we have that you cannot be objective and independent even though the government pays. And I don't know why we tend to think most of the time, and just like the statement that Ndu did present, whoever pays the viper calls the tune. But I'm thinking it is possible, actually, for the government to pay and the civil society to be independent. The fear that the money will be the bargaining chip so that you can toe the line, and the fear that the civil society will always have to toe that line so that they can continue having the money, I think it's something that we have entertained for so long. In a sense, we are telling ourselves that we cannot be independent, that we cannot act. We will always play the tune. But I think it's time to change the narrative. So yes, I agree with Daisy. The government should pay, should fund this.
Thank you, Leah.
You're welcome.
Asante. Independence, is it possible to actually say that we are funding? So our political parties are getting money from the state, right? Our political party is controlled by the state.
No, they're not.
Can you say that because of receiving money from state coffers, a party like Jubilee, like ODM, like Wiper, like KANU, would then be
beholden by the state?
Beholden.
What you're referring to, I think, is a historical position that we've held for the longest time. That when the government has any input, the understanding is that you will comply with its wishes. Even when the mandate and the policies and the requirements that are actually before you state different.
Yeah.
And it's in the same understanding that you find that if you look at people who do business with government, see, you heard me talk about crony capitalism, okay? The biggest person you can do business with, who has the most money, is actually government. So if the government gives you business, Eric, if I may quote you verbatim here, when it comes to an issue, you shut up. You don't go around saying things that, as far as people are concerned,
detrimental to your own business.
Do you not remember?
Let's hear Dennis. Dennis is back on the line from Ahero. Dennis.
Yeah.
Sorry we lost you. You said that they should not be funded. Why?
They should not be funded. A reason is that, if they are funded by the government, then the government is going to have control over them. At times you find that there are some issues that are very relevant to the society, which are not being performed by the government. And it is the civil societies that normally address those issues. So in case that the government does not want the issues to be addressed by the civil society, then obviously if they are getting funds from the government, then the government is going to take action.
I hear you. Thank you, Dennis. Dan in Homa Bay, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Now, a very interesting discussion this morning. I have personally worked in a civil society organization for the last 7 years, and I have seen how easy it has been to relate with government, and also how well it is easy to work without directly benefiting or getting anything from government. I am of the opinion that if government was to finance or to fund civil society organizations, we probably would not achieve most of the things that we have achieved as a nation in the civil society organization network, sort of. One is because there are many organizations across the world that would want to support Kenya government, but for reasons that are very clear, maybe accountability issues, corruption, and others, they choose to do these projects through organizations that they can control and they can audit. It is very difficult to audit government by other organizations across the world. So when money comes into an organization, for example, say a civil society organization, they can always ask how this money was spent and get even receipts for them. In government, you will not get that. The money will be allocated and you will assume that
Dan, is this not a case of a foreign government trying to lord it over? I mean, look, we have structures in government that talk about accountability. We have an independent office of Auditor General that audits every shilling that is spent by government. When a foreign government says that they cannot get answers on how our money was spent, how do they think we get answers on how our money is spent?
But Eric, tell me, your president has said he loses money. He loses so much money on daily basis. I was saying.
Yes.
I was saying our government has admitted to losing so much money. Don't we have Auditor General?
We do.
We do.
If the president knows that there is an Auditor General and he can still admit that we lose so much on daily basis,
yes,
is some crazy government going to sit somewhere and hope that they will also lose some 3 billion every
but
day
what the president is saying is actually confirmed by the Auditor General's reports.
Yeah. So it is easier to put your money where you can follow the audit trail of that money than where you wait for the Auditor General to confirm it has been stolen. That's what I think. So government should not fund civil society organizations at all.
Thank you, Dan.
Otherwise, we are going to ask the government to start financing churches also and other institutions that also maybe tax government. Will they finance churches?
Actually, there are governments that do that. If you look at the country of Germany, there's a church tax. So part of your taxes goes towards supporting religious organizations. So it's not as though we're talking about something that isn't done elsewhere. It's done. Because when you support a religious organization or a church, you're supporting your people. It's not the building, it's the people, and those are your citizens.
Yeah.
Benjamin in Migori, good morning.
Morning to you. How are you?
Very well.
Now, my contribution is this. They should be funded by the government, but it's a tricky affair. You know what happened to Judiciary, they were complaining, underfunding.
Yep.
That means that in as much as we have these institutions that are being funded by the government, which are independent, there is that element of the government interfering in the executive, especially when the decisions they make are against the same government. So it's a tricky affair, but they should be funded.
Good point. Thank you very much, Benjamin. Let's hear from Kikaya in Mombasa. Hello.
Yes, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
My contribution is civil society should not get any funding from the government. The reason is, how much, what is their pay for each and every, their CEOs? We don't know the amount they receive. There's a time when the government wanted to know how much comes into some of these civil society None of them was even ready to give us how much they and who is funding them. You get me? So I would really say no, they should not get any funding.
Okay, Kikaya, thank you very much. Some of the comments coming in on social media. Andrew says, CSOs already have problems with rent seeking, dubious expenditures, and hidden agendas. Acting at the behest of foreign interest is the least of its problems. Just saying that state funding is no answer to existing problems. Saying we have bigger problems with civil society. In terms of their own accountability.
We can't run away from then the duty then that is placed on the one who funds you. That they place on you. The things that they would like you to do, the things that they would then like, the lines within which they would want you to operate. Just yesterday, we had a conversation about development partners and how they are now asking Kenya to operate in a certain manner and give a progress report on how they operate. Do you think that they would be able to do that had they not been in this development partnership, giving out goodies on a regular basis? Like you said, when we needed money to complete the budget, please help us. When we have some starving people because of the drought, please help us. Funding you on a regular basis, at the end of the day, they can then come and now ask you to do certain things and you will have no choice but to do what? To comply. Now, you can imagine a situation whereby the state, which we have already seen and knows, would prefer not to divulge certain things, Sirikali, right? Would prefer not to discuss them. That is the same state you're asking to now come and fund you to check them for the society. How difficult do you see that?
Those concerns are legitimate in terms of, so you're asking a body that will many times be exposing things that are not working well in government to be funded by government. However, let's just pull back and say it is the people of Kenya who have contributed this money into this kitty, and the people of Kenya are also going to fund this other arm that will be helping them in the civic activities. Remember, like Daisy was saying, some of those civic activities will include, let's talk about, public participation forum, where we're talking about sensitizations of the public on budget making, sensitization of the public on projects.
And I dare say they will give those to you.
Yes.
But I'm saying that there are others, they won't.
At the very least. Now, if we went ahead and tried to tighten those screws, like there was an attempt at some point to say, how do we make sure that the judiciary funding is not affected by whoever is sitting at the helm of the executive, where even the county funding is not affected by that? Make it a fast charge. Say, this is how much is going to the judiciary. It's a percentage of the budget, and it's a fast charge. It goes. The National Treasury does not have, the leeway to say, it's because we don't have money now. So the same with the game they've been playing with counties. It goes. They don't play those games with the Parliamentary Service Commission, because the Parliamentary Service Commission has some ways of making sure that the executive plays a role. So the same thing we say, all these independent institutions, including then the civil society, there's a certain percentage of the budget that is said, this amount of the budget goes to civil society, and it goes automatically. Ukuri Atani or whoever is at the Treasury does not have a say on, kuna check inaiva kutoka World Bank. No. There's money, it goes.
If you actually look at the difficulties that we seem to be talking about with this proposal and with this understanding, the executive and the functions of the executive, or the murmurs and the actions that we often see, a lot of it has to do with not the executive, but who is at the helm.
It's the individual. It's the individual.
Because just people go talk about the Moi era and talk about the dictatorial tendencies that we saw, which existed. But if you were to contextualize it and compare it with our neighbors on this continent, you would say that was actually a very benevolent government. What am I saying? I am saying that everything we're discussing is something that is incrementally and is always a process, and the progress therein is always a process. Because you will have one leader, and they quote President Mwai Kibaki, who was willing to open up the space, this democratic space, completely. But we forget, he didn't have to contend with the constitution like President Uhuru has had to. But he opened up the space. President Moi, it could be argued, allowed for multi-party democracy to come into being.
And Facebook. This is Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, so about a minute and a half to
94.4 Spice
a poll on social media where we're asking, should the civil society be funded just like we see political parties being funded? And the poll results are in yes, 75%, and no, 25% of the people who have participated so far have basically said, yes, civil societies should receive some form of funding from the state. Yeah, Thomas Wakiaga, what is he saying?
Thomas says they should, and they are, as CT said. Independence is possible. The question to ask is oversight of that funding, which is already a part of that structure as a whole. The notion that government funding is bad is purely corruption. We have structures.
Ati Jakaya Jirjir says, this is Kenya, my friends. If they can't fund the judiciary, how can they fund the civil society?
Actually, they can fund the judiciary.
They can. Will they is a totally different. This is not a matter of capacity.
If they're not funding the judiciary, will they fund the civil society? Keep it right here for more conversations. In the next hour, we still open up the phone lines for you to contribute. 0719 012 600. That is 0719 012 600. Our social media pages are still active. SpiceFM KE on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and also live streaming on YouTube. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Former Mount Elgon Member of Parliament John Serut is dead. Serut, who was diagnosed with cancer in January 2020, had been in and out of hospital. He died at Nairobi Hospital today. The former legislator's family had late last year issued a public appeal to offset his medical bills. As of October last year, his bill had accrued to at least 20 million shillings. Our thoughts and prayers to the family and friends. Democratic Republic of Congo Senator Francine Muyumba has castigated Deputy President William Ruto over remarks he made about the Central African nation. Taking to Twitter, Muyumba posted the video of DP Ruto claiming that despite DRC having an estimated population of 90 million people, the country did not have a single cow within its borders and as such imported dairy commodities from other nations. Muyumba consequently moved to label the remarks as insulting while urging Deputy President William Ruto to take back his earlier utterances. She similarly highlighted how Kenyan businesses such as Equity Bank and local carrier KQ are prospering in DRC's market. Muyumba likewise advised Deputy President William Ruto to exercise caution while drumming up support ahead of the August polls, citing that forming lasting economic ties with African nations should be the focus of Kenya's next president instead of bad-mouthing their neighbors. This as President Uhuru Kenyatta has criticized government officials for frustrating potential foreign investors. Kenyatta lectured his officials, saying they should be helping make Kenya the first point of contact for any would-be investor, not the last.
People need to be facilitated. People don't need to be lectured on upon our rules and regulations. We need to adapt to what the investor wants. We need to be the welcoming party. We need to facilitate these people to do what they need to do. These people have options to invest in many other parts of the world. What makes you different? That is what is key.
He asked officials to help Kenya attract investors and not become a roadblock.
So we are here to listen. We are here to facilitate. We are here to do what
these investors require from us in order for them to come into our country, to bring their investments into our country, to help us create jobs, develop our economy, not the other way around. They are doing us a favor, not us doing them a favor. And I don't know what's going to get people in government to start to wake up to those realities. What we are interested in is making it easy for them, wanting them to come, wanting them to make Kenya their first point of call, not their last.
And businessman Richard Ngatia has announced that he will relinquish his presidency at the helm of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry before he is sworn in as Nairobi Governor Shuli Win. Ngatia, who is also the managing director and CEO of Megascope Healthcare, said the rules governing KNCCI states that anyone who wishes to run for an elective seat can do so. Ngatia, also the chairman of the Great Lakes region, said that he will adhere to the rules, and should he be successful, he will ensure that he has handed over his duties and roles from all his dealings. And a Japanese contractor EAA Company Limited is in fresh trouble with Kenyan authorities as it alleges that the firm allegedly hired a quack advocate to fight its blacklisting from public procurement in Kenya. The Public Procurement Regulatory Authority has asked police to investigate the firm for allegedly hiring Calvin's Omondi Omino and Klein and Omimo advocates to challenge its blacklisting from participating in public procurement in Kenya. The Central Organization of Trade Union Secretary General Francis Atwoli has taken a swipe at Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi, terming him as ungrateful. Atwoli castigated the ANC boss over his constant criticism of President Uhuru Kenyatta, Orange Democratic Movement Party leader Raila Odinga and himself. The outspoken Kotu boss argued that President Kenyatta and Odinga had greatly contributed to creating a name for Mudavadi, but instead of showing gratitude, he was now insulting them. And Jubilee Secretary General Raphael Tuju has dismissed rumors that the party had barred Anne Girita, one of the prime suspects charged over the National Youth Service scandal, from joining its ranks. Girita Tuesday jumped ship to Jubilee from Deputy President William Ruto's UDA party in a bid to contest for the Nakuru County Woman Representative seat at the August general elections. According to Tuju, Jubilee is committed to welcoming new party members to the political outfit, irrespective of their previous political affiliations. Hence, claims that the party headquarters had blocked Ngirita's move are baseless and unfounded. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Right, there's traffic on Mombasa Road this morning. A little bit of it as you're getting out towards the city, but nothing too painful. You're going to get to that General Motors drift, that diversion there, and a little bit just before you get out on the main road, but then you should be fine after that. Raila Odinga Way took a hit pretty early, and it's still suffering from that. We're looking at Uhuru Highway going all the way into Westlands today. Very, very slow movement in the western part of the city. Thika Superhighway, much better now. At least you can get through with a smile on your face, at least for now. Getting to the Pangani underpass at that nexus then between Kiambu Road, Muthaiga Road, and then coming in at the underpass, you should be all right. Muranga Road, however, getting into the city is quite something. All right, we'll keep an eye on things through the morning. Talk to us. Let's see what it is like. We are ending at traffic hour at about 9:30. We'll take a look. Okay, SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
7 minutes after 9. City.
A fish and a bird may fall in love, but the two cannot build a home together.
Why?
together as one.
Siti amekataa.
No, proverb. Merely saying that yes, there are things they can do, but there are things that even if they wish, they cannot do.
So it'll be a long distance relationship.
Literally.
They can be on Facebook.
Under the sea and up in a tree. Did you say they can be on Facebook?
Yes. Facebook buddy.
Oh no.
Yeah? There's a long distance relationship.
And the other social media thing.
Erasmus.
Yes, that one. They can also be on that one.
They can be on all of those ones. Yeah.
What?
But then, unfortunately, the bird will not know whether this is a real fish or it's a catfish.
I don't even have words for that.
So,
silly.
Yesterday, the Murang'a woman representative, Sabina Wanjiru Wachege, honored the summonses to the IEBC to respond to the summons, and it's about what she said while out there campaigning. She came accompanied by very many people, her supporters and fellow members of parliament, who included Babu Owino, who included, who else?
James Orengo.
Senator James Orengo,
Atiendo Omolo.
MP Otiendo Omolo. Atiendo Omolo.
Otiende Amolo.
You know. You're reminding me of someone who was arguing with me and saying that Raila's name is actually Raila Omolo Odinga. I said, no. I said, no, but you lose.
Everything is O.
Is woman.
Well, yes, and O is male. So he's Raila Omolo. I said,
sawa. It's sawa.
It makes you happy.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Let's
it's
roll with
Amolo,
it.
But let's just go with it.
It's okay.
So it's Otiende
Amolo.
Not Otiende Omolo.
Bas.
Or Atiende.
Yes. Omolo. No. Get it right.
Otiende Amolo.
Now we've
Sorry.
got it.
Now the conversation can continue.
The other one is not Babu Awino.
No, it's Babu Owino.
The Narok senator, what's his name?
Olekina.
Ledama Olekina. It's not Ledama Alekina.
It's not Oledama
Alekina. No. Ledama
Olekina
was also present. And they came in, and those who were next to her said, you know what, no, come on. You're talking about rigging claims, blah, blah. Sabina is not saying that the 2017 election was rigged. No, she's not even talking about rigging this forthcoming election. What does she know about rigging?
I mean, the word rigging may have appeared, but she wasn't talking about rigging.
She's not talking about it. She is the one person who's going around the country preaching peace, preaching harmony, and saying we want to have a good government coming into force after the 9th of August general election. You know, the editorial in today's The Standard says Murang'a woman rep Sabina Chege appeared before the IEBC yesterday over vote rigging claims at a political rally in Vihiga County recently. Ms. Chege alleged that the Jubilee administration rigged votes in 2017 for a country that seeks unity of purpose ahead of the August elections. Such statements, whether true or made in jest for political expediency, are unfortunate. There is plenty to learn from reckless statements that have caused violence, yet our leaders pretend as if nothing untoward has ever happened before. For the umpteenth time, this newspaper reiterates that politicians must watch their words, especially now that elections are around the corner. Elections are not meant to divide, but to give us visionary leadership, capable of moving the country to the next level of development. Whatever she meant, whatever she was talking about, whether she was just saying that, just to mock the other side or whatever. Wanafikiri wanajua kutushinda. It doesn't matter. Look at the history of this country when it comes to elections and the rhetoric. And it's because of that history that, for example, the other side picked this up very fast.
Really quickly.
The deputy president, Musalia Mudavadi, all of them were up there saying, no, that is a reckless statement. And on this other side, we are seeing the Orengos and the others who were in the Supreme Court twice. Orengo, was there in 2013, was there in 2017. In 2007, Orengo was there sitting, negotiating the National Peace and Reconciliation Accord. Knows very well our history with rhetoric and all. Now Orengo is there saying, no, come on.
That's what she meant.
What are you talking about, partner?
And if we're talking about history, we also know our history with expertly sweeping things under the carpet. This is a thorny issue, and people are jumping up in all directions and gesticulating in all manner of directions because we are uncomfortable with things that unfortunately may be true. Our elections and the problems we have with them don't begin with the actual election. They begin with party nominations. And party nominations, my friend, cannot again stand. It cannot withstand the full glare of light. It does very, very, very well with slivers of light that escape through certain shutters that perhaps weren't properly secured. It does a very good job of that. If we haven't dealt comprehensively with issues that arose in 1992, 1997, the so-called tribal clashes, culminating in 2008, displacement of people losing families, people losing lives, people losing properties. We aren't even addressing that adequately and talking about it openly and saying, folks, this is what really happened. So now someone talks about, just mentions and alludes to the possibility of
that
rigging.
something could have happened in this nature, and then everybody's got their knickers in a twist.
Yes.
So the question is it because we're on that society in general is uncomfortable with the truth? Because the truth is not always going to come in a sunflowers and roses kind of thing. The truth will come bitter. It will be uncomfortable. It will be hard to bear, but it will be the truth. That the realization that this thing could have happened is what makes people uncomfortable. The realization that it could have happened and some people then would be laid bare before society, knowing that they could have had a hand in this, that is the uncomfortability that we are seeing here. Not necessarily because someone said something that was untoward, but because she may have opened up a reality that nobody really wants to face.
Or also, she may just have been playing to the gallery. She knows that, this is what people say. Every time after an election, we say this country is sharply divided down the middle because those that lost don't believe they lost. Those that won believe that they won because they had wind on their sails. Look, for as long as we continue having this kind of statements, we will never get rid of that perception that an election is being rigged. That's why to date, we remember words that were uttered 2 years ago, was it 2 or 3 years ago, by, what is his name? Oburu Odinga, right?
Not
Oburu Odinga, when he said, now we have the system. How was it interpreted? When he said, we didn't have the system before, now Jacom has the system.
That he can now do what
Yes.
he wants.
What is this system, and what does the system mean?
What power is this?
For as long as we keep having these conversations, it's actually possible that Jacom will not be assisted by the system in any way if he won the election in August. But can people stand back and say, but we were told by his brother, we were told by Sabina, who was supported by Orengo, that, these things could happen. So if we see him winning and we go out there and we say they stole the election, we have seen it happen before. We keep having this kind of conversations. We
Why?
keep seeing this kind of conversations being encouraged. We shall never get rid of the perception that the election is stolen in Kenya. Is it stolen or is it not?
And that's the thing, that are people really comfortable with the conversation to bring it down to the nitty gritty, Eric, and say, all right, guys, let's just get down to it, bare knuckle and ask, was it stolen or not? And actually deal with that reality, that there's a possibility that lies right there that it actually was. And then if it was, or if it wasn't, can we deal with it and then move on? But I actually think, I'm telling you that there is a sweet operation within scandal that people enjoy.
And it's
that sitting there, that's sitting there and saying, well, when you hear such things, you're actually happy and say, it's possible that can we then get embroiled in this whole thing and say, it's possible that it was stolen, open the servers. It's possible that it was stolen, let these people now be brought to account. We were on the other side. Can we have a conversation? Are you ready to deal with the reality that this thing may
is
be?
what I'm saying. That
And
is
that's the
reckless
thing.
talk. Look,
Sure,
there's
but-
nothing about dealing with reality. The reality has already been dealt with.
Has it?
Yes.
Which is?
The matter has been prosecuted before a competent court
And
called
were
the
pe-
Supreme Court.
And
Listen, let me
still-
finish.
The,
Let me finish.
The divide that you talk about is still very much there. That there's some people who
Exactly.
feel as though, regardless of the fact that it went to the apex court, they feel that they were not given the justice
And that is
they
what
look
I'm
for.
saying. Can we get to that level of maturity where we accept that institutions shall deal with this and we leave it at that? If all the other petitions that have been taken to court, from MCA to MP to woman rep to senator to governor, have been taken to court, courts have either said, yes, we find irregularity, we order a by-election, or we find no irregularity and we don't order any by-election. All those that have gone to court and lost petitions, we don't hear them saying, but you see, this election was stolen. We see this election was stolen. Very many election petitions are filed in court. What is the success rate of those election petitions? Low. The presidential election has gone to court twice, 2013, 2017. What was the verdict in 2013? We find no irregularity to say that what IEBC has declared is erroneous. In 2017, we find reason to question the result because of process. And we say, go back and do process clean. They did not say that we find that the election was stolen. The Supreme Court did not say that the election was stolen, therefore go back. They said, we have found questions that have been asked on the transmission, and those questions should not appear.
And in order to have those questions answered, then we ask
Just
for
go
a
back.
repeat of the process.
Yes.
Right.
So can we get to that level where, as a country, we get to that maturity where we accept?
Sure.
If a matter has gone to court, it has been adjudicated, the verdict is out, that's it. This thing of continuing conversation, it was stolen, it was stolen. What do you have to show that it was stolen?
Eric, that is all right. But we know very well that if you want to treat something, that you've got to open up and find what is causing that. You cannot run away with it.
Yes.
So you must ask yourself, there may be those who are just fly by the seat of your pants, fair weather people who are saying, well, you know what, let's just hang on this thing that it was stolen. But there are those who do have genuine concerns. In order for you to say, you know what, folks, drop this, you're going to have to go to the reasons as to why they're holding on to it in the first place. You can't run away from it.
These discussions
Truth
about...
and justice, if you look at the Gashaga courts, what did people do? People came out bare-knuckled, opened this thing to the very heart of why it is bothering them. Without that, you cannot have it sorted. You can't. So are there people who have genuine concerns that are holding on to this thing that we're saying drop, which I understand.
And the concern is only on one of the six elections.
Allow the institutions to do their job. That's true. And I agree 100%. If you're going to say drop this and let's move on, can you drop it and move on?
Yes,
and
we can. My point, Ndu,
let's not carry this issue further and let's move forward.
If I were to go back and just state what my point is that this feeling or this perception that we say that is in the community is manufactured by the politicians. It is these politicians who keep coming here to talk about it like this, and they plant that seed. If we stop the politicians from planting that seed, that thing we sorted. We don't see people going to the county and saying, the
only reason I lost is because the election was stolen.
Yes. We have over 1,000, how many? 800 elections in the country. One is the one that is questioned. When you talk about rigging, it's the one that we talk about. MCAs, we don't talk about this. Governor, we don't talk about this. Woman rep, we don't talk about it.
We do talk about it.
The highest power is concentrated. We had Martha Karua who sat in this room who told us she knew the reason why she lost in Kirinyaga is because the election was flawed. She said, people have said here
it's talked about, but you see, which electoral position gets the most limelight? It's the presidential
one. Which election position has the most power when we're looking at it in this country?
It's the presidential one. But again, even this discussion of rigging is not the issue. No, it isn't. When the symptoms of a problem take center stage, the discussion never ends because all you're doing is discussing the symptom. Oh, this is the outcome. This
Without
is
going
this.
to the heart of the matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This culture of understanding that certain wrong things in our society are acceptable. If they're presented and if they are consumed in a certain fashion, they're acceptable. If it is said in a certain way and the process carried out in a certain way, depending on who carries it out, it is also acceptable. In the name of democracy, parties will determine who it is they want the flag bearers to be. If the rule book says a party can nominate, it's not an issue. They can nominate. If the party policies dictate that the democratic process of actually electing nominees is what is to take place, it will be the case. But ours is muddled. You're not sure whether the party can actually, and yet, by the way, the rules are clear. But in our minds, the party should not dictate to us. Actually, parties can dictate. They can decide who it is they want the flag bearers to be. But because we have a delegates conference and we have this process that we have
To make it appear democratic.
precisely,
Yes.
we are more concerned with appearances than the reality. Now, when somebody talks about something that you'd rather not deal with, then it becomes a very big hoo-ha. And depending on where you stand, party nominations are always marred with irregularities. Always.
That's really where it starts.
It starts there. And people have understood that they are mad. You know why? Because they have a candidate and they believe this candidate is popular. Why is it then that with our politics, you find, we know this particular party holds sway in this region, and that you'll find somebody being elected not because they didn't stand or wanted to be nominated on the party ticket. They did, but they didn't get the nomination. Somebody else did. They go to an election where now you're actually electing openly, and they win. There are parts of the country where party nominations are not the issue. It is clear they are more concerned about the individual. So you come with a party if you like, but they're going to elect the person they want to. The reality of our politics, unfortunately, is also this predominantly. The truth is not considered very good currency. What is considered good currency is what is generally accepted or what people believe ought to be accepted. You deviate from it even ever so slightly, then you raise the unnecessary issues that people don't want to deal with.
If you don't fall in line with this is how we do things or this is how things are done, then really
there's an issue.
This
is how things ought to be said. This is how they need to be perceived. Then you create a problem. We are a society that is uncomfortable with the truth. And that is why somebody can come up and say, I am a millionaire, I'm a wealthy person. And yet there is no value addition process that they are engaged in that they can point towards how that money is acquired. And yet we are supposed to just accept that there are people who magically and who, because of some very compounded and profound abilities, are able to raise money from thin air to make them wealthy. Well, it doesn't work that way really, but we want to accept that that is how things are done. Yes. You have a CDF that is depleted, but you want to question how it is that the depletion of the CDF is commensurate with the wealth of that member of parliament and the people around them. No, we don't want to talk about it.
No.
You have governors who are multi-billionaires, and you
know
don't want to question
salary.
how it is. We know what the salary is.
Yeah.
How it is, the depletion of the county resources and the inability to fulfill promises that are budgeted for.
But we don't want to talk about
No,
it.
you don't want to touch it to talk about it. So, because we don't want to talk about these things, when anything that relates to the truth as it actually ought to be said is pointed to, my goodness.
Don't want to talk about
Goodness, there'll be an earthquake. How he had it. Ho.
That was really nice.
Well, I was actually just...
It's an earthquake.
Yes.
I know, this is how an earthquake occurs.
In what form should this talking about it then take?
You see...
Because here we're talking about the election process.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
And having credible election results.
Let's break it down, shall we?
Yes. So if we were saying that, what I hear you say is that, no, there are questions about credibility, and those questions are valid, about the credibility of our electoral system.
Yes.
And we should then talk about them. Okay, so how do we talk about them?
Break it down and ask yourself...
Is it in public rallies like Sabina?
It can be anywhere. It can be anywhere. Remember, this issue of speaking your mind as you ought to, we had a member of parliament from Baringo who, raising concerns about the insecurity in the area, was quoted to have spoken about arming her people. Hey!
Arrested. Shackled. Bracelets on.
The discussion on insecurity took a backseat. But completely. And now, goodness, incitement.
But the truth because you don't want to face the truth that there's certain things that were brought up at that time. The insecurity problem is a big one.
It's a massive one.
Has there been shirking of responsibility in terms of what needs to be done to sort out that security issue? Absolutely. Have we discussed it and dealt with it in the manner in which we should have? No, we have not. So here is somebody who comes out and says, you know what, guys? Since clearly for the last X number of years, nothing has been done about it. So now, see, we've been sorting out ourselves. Now, allow us to do it with your support. Allow us to arm ourselves. Then you realize, hold on a minute, this conversation is uncomfortable. What? That the light then would be shown upon you who was supposed to have done something about it. So rather than deal with the issue, we shut it down and put it away. Literally, we put the problem away in a box somewhere, as opposed to handling the matter.
Has the insecurity problem
gone
vanished?
Away?
Nope.
No. Has the sentiment of the people gone away?
No.
Nope.
So, you see, when you perpetuate a certain situation or a condition or a process, you perpetuate it by failing to address the issue, not the circumstances that arise from the issue, but the issue. And unfortunately, that always seems to be what our politicians treat us to. And that's why, as a citizen, sometimes I'm confused. I'm really confused. And I'm thinking, hey,
where are we?
This thing that this person is saying, is it the same person who not very long ago said the other? We accept it as being the norm, and I'm saying we shouldn't. You ask the question, what should we do? First of all, I am not going to accept it. If somebody says something, and the next day there's something, I'm going to ask, you said this the other day, why are you now saying this? You are presenting yourself as being a luminary for this particular thing, but your history tells us this. So tell us about the change and how it is that you were once this and you're now this. I will ask that question because I want clarity. If Sabina Chege has been summoned by the IBC, they should. It is correct that they have. Because what she said points to certain interpretations. It is correct. Let that process take place.
Do you think that process will address the concerns that you say are there in the public? So let's say Sabina goes through this entire process by the IEBC committee, and the IEBC committee comes and says, what she said is unfounded, and we find that she's in breach of the Electoral Code of Conduct, and we are therefore going to punish her as the law permits. Will that address anything? Or even if they come out and say, actually what she said, she has shed light on what happened in 2017, and she has told us how she and others participated in the stealing of our election. We are therefore also going to take action by taking her to court. Will it address?
It'll have begun the process of addressing such issues. You know why? We will have been treated to understanding the discussions that go around such matters when it comes to the IEBC, the committee that deals with these things. My point of view on these matters is that every time you have an issue going to court, all it does is it expands my understanding of it and the laws pertaining to it. On this one, the same thing is going to happen. I'm going to now begin to understand in greater detail how IEBC ought to do, because I'm going to read and find out what are they supposed to actually do. And I'm going to look at what they're doing. So when we have this discussion, I'll say, the rule book says this is what they're supposed to do. But in this case, this is what they did. My understanding of the situation will have been enhanced. And I will know at that point in time whether we're just being toyed with or whether they're actually doing what they're supposed to do.
Time for a break. It's 29 minutes to 10.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Una postoria tini real news mimi sikuamini mpaka nione source hizo vis una text online to me tunanifeel staki jokes ama mimi nitakureport for real.
Wazazi watoina mayouth wetu usidanganywe, erebuka na ujibambe na burudani safe na masomo mtandaoni.
For information visit cop.ke-cirt.go.ke/ report incident on ke-cirt.go.ke or call 0703 042 700. The Communications Authority of Kenya. Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako.
5,000 kilometers of unforgiving terrain across Kenya. Classic rally machinery put through their paces by the best drivers across the globe. That's right, the toughest rally in the world is back with a bang. The East African Safari Classic Rally flags off on the 10th of February in Naivasha. Follow 9 days of pure motorsport action with stages
sunny
on the
conditions
11th
at 20 in
and 12th
Nairobi,
in
highs of 27 and lows of 15 today. It's sunny at 20 in Nakuru, good highs of 27 and lows of 19. 13 will be the low in a sunny Nyeri, currently at 18 and 18 degrees in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows
Stay
of
updated
11.
on all
It's
the events on
partly
KTN
sunny in
Sports,
Mombasa,
Standard
highs of 32 and lows
Newspaper, or
of
follow the
25,
Standard
while
social
in
media
Malindi at
pages
29
across
currently,
all
good
social
highs of
media
31
platforms and
lows
feed your
of
need
26.
for speed.
Kisumu is sunny at 24, highs of 28, and partly sunny conditions in Kakamega at 25. It'll go to highs of 29. Kampala is cloudy at 24, highs of 28 and lows of 19, while Dar es Salaam is cloudy at 28 with highs of 32 and lows of 25. All right, we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions at 18 in Joburg, 27 will be the high and lows of 16, while partly sunny conditions at 25 in Lagos, highs of 33 and lows of 25. It's partly sunny at 26 in Kinshasa, we'll see highs of 33 and lows of 24. Going into early evening in Beijing, it's -3 and sunny, we'll see highs of 0 and lows of -9. It's still raining in Paris at 12 degrees, we'll see highs of 15 and lows of 10, getting warmer in London as well at 12. Highs of 16 and back down to lows of 12. It's -1 and clear, inching closer and closer to Wednesday. In New York, we'll see highs of 8 and lows of -1.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Afande hii umbo yako iko na
hii ni umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Getting out of traffic hour soon enough. Uhuru Highway still continues to give that off into the city. We're looking at traffic on Raila Odinga Way as well as coming off Ngong Road this morning. But it's looking much better, guys. The bypasses have been acting pretty good today, the last couple of days. It'll continue that way through the day, we hope. I don't think we should have too much of an issue, traffic, moving on from now. Just in case that happens, talk to us. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127. We want to keep things moving through Wednesday.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
19012 Do you think the IBC's action on Sabina Chege, the woman rep for Murang'a County, will yield any results? Do you think it will? Let's hear from you. 0719-012-600. Zachary Konyo.
Oh, hi guys.
How are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you. After the just concluded Valentine men's conference, where we came with what we called the Gizogoro Declaration, and we agreed unanimously that the economic burden in the house belongs to everybody, everyone there. Not saying that this is a gender role, this is the boy's role, or this is the girl child's role. Yeah. Just as the others, okay, we share because sharing is caring. And let me say this, Actually, I hope everyone is there and okay, and Mwalimu Andrew is okay there.
Zachary, I am well, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mwalimu. We are proud of you. Our institutional memory there. Now, let me say this. For the sake of courtesy and decorum, let me not use the words that I would have used from our Kikuyu language, from the English language to describe the so-called, what is her name actually? She's from our prison, that lady.
Which one?
The one who had an outburst. Sabina Chege. There is a word I would have used, but let me not use it for sake of decorum and the courtesy of it. But then there is a time that I said there, I think about 2 weeks ago, I said, Kenya is pregnant. Kenya is heavily pregnant, especially at this time, And we are advised, and I agree with the editorial that you tried to paraphrase there, that called each and every reader or a person in the village, everyone, to be very cautious and mindful of the words that come from his or her mouth. That lady actually transgressed. I don't know the words I can use to describe, but in the Kikuyu language you have got so many proverbs who have described such a person, the same case even in English and even in Kiswahili. Every language I know that you are not supposed to go into a public place and talk or utter words that are, likely to cause, mayhem and anxiety, and ignite violence,
Yes.
But let me see this. I have a profile of that lady, and I understand that she comes from she used to be a radio whatever host in one of our Kikuyu vernaculars, I would want everyone to ask himself this way, especially our Kikuyu people there. Every person comes to give this as a celebrity because we hear him or her in the radio, and therefore he is presenting herself or himself. Well, let us give this person. Have we actually vetted her conduct? What is this person likely to do? Okay, leave alone that she's our celebrity and she is well known. And actually that happens.
Zachary, can I ask you a question? Please.
Ask me, please, Maureen.
What is it that you feel that Sabina Chege said that was offensive?
Let me say this, Maureen. But even if she knows what his claiming was true, he should have kept quiet. And there is a Kikuyu, the proverb, I don't know whether I can say it.
By all means, say it, Zachary.
In the Kikuyu, we say this, and please, sorry if I offend anyone, but I'm not meant to. But for the sake of the discussion, let me say the proverb, Moisi na kehe akenaga kiarua na ake moisi na mutumia akenaga akua. Can I translate it?
Please.
Eric, I know somehow you know. This is okay. Kehe is the okay. Actually, let me not translate it, but let me find for
Zachary.
Zachary. Okay. Can I translate it?
Yes.
Okay. is a person who has not gone through the cut, yeah? To use some palatable words, yeah? Muthui is a woman. So they are saying if you go stealing with that boy who has not gone through the cut, he has not been taught. That is what we understand. He has not been taught the essence of keeping secret. Okay? Now what about the woman? The woman is likened to the uncut boy because he is also deemed not to have gone through the rights of being told, oh, we have done this. It is not good in the eyes of the public and the eyes of God. So can you keep it secret until you die or until we make you a better, okay? So they summarize it by saying, if you go doing bad things with the uncut boy, yeah, you only become happy when the guy was cut. So I don't know.
So now he's mature.
But for the woman,
so your secret is safe.
For the woman, it is even worse because you are being told that you only be happy when you hear that that person has clinically proven to be dead. Anybody. Anyway, in short, because I know there are others, kindly let us watch our words. Let us weigh what we are saying. Because I said Kenya is heavily pregnant, and a pregnant woman or even a cow, we call off the vet. Oh, can you examine this thing? Because it is in a bad state, yeah?
Bottom line, let's watch our words.
Let us weigh our words. And I condemned what he said. Thank you guys and have a nice day.
You too, Zachary. So let's be careful. I mean, some statements are inflammatory and reckless. Just like we said, the editorial is saying. I mean, this is reckless talk. It may not matter whether you're saying it in jest, just to ridicule some people, or whether you're just saying it to entertain a crowd. But you see, look at, for example, what just that short sentence by Sabina has elicited. A whole national conversation that, now looks at, is this election going to be credible? Is it going to produce the legitimate results? Are they
taking folks back?
Are the winners who are going to be announced going to be... Do we need to get there?
I think,
or would you say that she has actually performed public service by bringing the issue to the fore?
To bringing it up. Well, there would be some that would argue that. But I think, look, the importance of keeping words in check cannot be overemphasized, right? Especially when you're dealing on a platform where very many things have happened as a result of things that people may have said or suggested. I think we cannot overemphasize the care that needs to be taken when you're in a public place and you have access to people. You must be careful. I think it cannot be overemphasized.
If you say something, be ready to stand by you.
Be ready by all means. All means.
Are we in a country where even when the emperor is walking stark naked in his birthday suit, we are not supposed to comment and say, because that's what we seem to be. There are things you shouldn't say about certain people.
Yes.
There are certain things you shouldn't say about certain processes.
I think the story of the emperor walking that way is being replicated very, very many times here. That
yes,
you don't want to.
Unfortunately, that list grows.
Yeah.
Okay? The do's and don'ts. You can't do this. This is the party line. This is the God knows what line. This is what? Because we are this party, it's going to be 6 suit, 6 piece. Look, we talk about dictatorial tendencies. That's it. If you subscribe to being, say, a member of a party, you are being told the party will decide and you're not allowed to differ. If you differ, you change the party.
Yes.
You have the option.
Yes.
Good.
You can go.
But then, if you're talking about a national issue, again, so we have this commonality in understanding that certain things don't exactly help us achieve the goal that we want to. So we will not talk about it. We'll keep quiet about it.
I think, City, the difference here is if somebody came and said, you know what, the last general election was rigged and I have information to this and I am willing to go and present this to the IEBC or to whoever asks me to. If that was a conversation, then by all means. But a political talk where you say this and then the next thing you say, but that's not what I meant.
But that's why
that's where the issue comes up.
Yes, but that's why it is
because this person who's saying it is not necessarily saying the king is naked.
They are not being. They are not giving a good account of what they've said with substantive evidence.
Yes,
but that's why the summons by the IBC becomes a wonderful thing, because then we have an opportunity to prove this fact further or confound it further.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and I think that's the import of even what Zachary is saying. All right. If you do not have evidence that the king is naked, if you cannot stand by the words that the king is naked,
don't utter them.
Don't utter them. Because when you utter them, you're not just talking about the king. You're talking about the society. You're talking about the kingdom. There's a danger to that. You're ridiculing an institution. It's not just the person of the king. You're ridiculing an institution.
Or you're playing to popular sentiment.
You're playing to popular sentiment. Just go, the king is naked. The effect of that is you're creating despondency in the society, where people now start saying, but even if the king came here cloaked in 79 garbs.
We know that at one point he was naked.
You know, the real problem again is that all this, true as it sounds and true as it is against a background of a country where we do not actually like the truth in its naked form.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it isn't pointing or casting aspersions on an institution. It's
the truth.
It's just speaking the truth for what it is. It is not something that we cherish. So, against that backdrop, the problems that we keep discussing and saying that we have, I think when the independence of the institutions that we have is brought to the fore and we see the exercising of that independence in doing what they are mandated to do, I can only say it is a good thing, because then we have at least an opportunity to take a seat and observe and see how it will play out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's hear from Kikaya in Mombasa. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, gentlemen and the lady?
We are well.
Sabina Chege. This lady, I think what she said, it's haunting us all Kenyans. Why am I saying this? I come from an area where the clashes were, the political clashes. This is around Lomakanda, Cape Karan, Surungai areas.
Yes.
Can you imagine up to now, guys have not been settled at all. Yet this is an area which is bordering the Rift Valley, where the DP comes from. And guys have not gone back to their shambas. These are people who had bought farms in those areas, and they have refused completely to be what do we call this? To be taken in. And that's what I'm telling you. Sabina Chege is right, because all these things will keep on haunting us, and I think City says this idea of sweeping things underground is not very good. Yeah, because people have not been. They're still wounded anyway, and we are not here to really help them up settle. And they have their farms. They can't go back. This is now another election. What are we really saying? Are we going to have the same thing?
Good questions. Thank you, Kikaya.
Thank you.
Asante. Almasi in Nairobi. Good morning.
Good morning, Situation Room.
Good morning.
Good morning, Do Eric and Mwalimu. I heard you are calling me Mwalimu.
You can join one Mr. Gikonyo's bandwagon and refer to me as Mwalimu. He says it affectionately, and I accept it.
Almasi.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, go ahead. What's your point?
I'm wondering, I heard someone before in the Situation Room saying about Jipange Kwa Grenai. And also there's another one who was former parliamentary speaker, deputy speaker, who said the Jubilee administration was rigged. And they have not been summoned to IBC. Why? Are there people who can say that truth and are not summoned, and those who can say they find themselves in hot soup? That's what I'm wondering about. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Almasi. Just raising the issues. So if we were to talk about, I think I look at it from two approaches. One is the approach of, yes, let's talk about the things that are ailing our society. Let's talk about them. But also look at that boy who was crying wolf. Can we say, oh, but that boy was actually doing something? Are there wolves there? Yes. Do the wolves come and attack people? Yes. So the boy was basically just
reacting to
raising an issue. But no, the boy was crying wolf when there's no wolf. Yes, there are wolves. Yes, wolves are a big concern. But the boy was making mockery of a situation that affects that community.
He took advantage of something that he knew was a problem in that particular community.
Yes.
And he knew exactly how people would respond.
Yes.
Yes.
It's the same thing that Sabina and the others are doing. They are not saying, guys, so we have a problem here, we keep being attacked by wolves and they're eating. No. So let's come and address it. That's not what they're doing. They're just doing it for fun.
Fun.
In the end, they are mocking the entire situation that we have.
You know, anything that involves people's lives, yes, when you use the word mockery, it can't be for fun. It can't be because you suddenly lacked something to say or you feel it's a thing that you ought to say. No. I'm going back to what I said earlier on, and that is our distaste, the distaste we have for the truth. It's something that we seem to have developed as a culture. If it seems to point to something that is the truth, we run away from it as much as we possibly can. Or better still, we throw things at it. We call it names, or we divert attention from it, and we make it appear to be anything other than what it's actually supposed to be. Yes. And we expend a lot of energy in doing precisely that.
I think there can't be one straitjacket approach to this thing. I do think that, like you say, the process has to play out. Questions must be asked in terms of what she meant and all of this. But at the same time, I think there's certain realities, or there are certain things that are realities for people, for large communities that you cannot do away with. There are people who therefore people who heard those statements and they were hurtled back into history immediately. There are some people who said, well, okay, hold on a minute. Could this then be true? And I don't think we can run away from the reality that it poses to a lot of people. If we're going to get over it to the point where you can actually say, you know what, let's then depend on the institutions to actually see this thing through. To get to that point where you can actually drop things and accept things and move on, there's a certain part of unraveling that needs to happen. Can you get to the part where you're comfortable with the truth? Maybe you don't need to be comfortable with the truth itself, but you need to be comfortable with the process playing out, that we are going to face things head on. Only then can you get to the point whereby some healing can actually start to take place.
So
and these are things that we're actually dealing with today.
Do you think what IEBC has started is going to get us closer to?
Yes.
To that?
I actually think it'll help.
Absolutely.
I think it'll help.
To show that, yes, we can deal with these things. Because when is the last time you saw with things that may have even been said that are worse than what she may have said? Seeing this kind of action.
I actually think it will.
I think so.
Yes.
It will yield to something.
Yes.
It would lead to
How
something.
much, only time will tell. But
And when?
that they've taken the step, it's a step in the right direction.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's conclude the conversation by talking about protecting the children from cyber bullies. Just take us through again. What does cyberbullying involve?
So when we're talking about this, say, teach your children how to operate within responsible behavior, including ways to interact with people, use of kind language, whether addressing somebody that you know or somebody that you do not, right? Keep the mean or threatening pictures, messages or texts that you may receive so that you can use them while escalating the matter to the bully's parents so that it can be addressed. So what are some of the things that, constitute cyberbullying? Posting or sending messages that threaten people or put people down. Leaving people out of online games or social forums, saying that they can't be a part of it, spreading nasty rumors online about people, setting up unkind or unpleasant fake social media accounts, impersonating people and sending mean messages on their behalf, trolling or stalking people online, sharing or forwarding people's personal information, posting insulting or embarrassing photos or videos of people, harassing other people in virtual environments or online games, sending hurtful messages or threats via messaging platforms.
And
it can happen at any time, day or night.
If you speak to children, you'll hear very many of this.
They've experienced it already.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Where you are where you're left out of a group, of an online game, where somebody has impersonated and they're sending, messages pretending to be you to somebody else, and those are mean messages, sharing personal information. It happens all the time. You can report, and the Communications Authority has also created a platform where you can report. So when you go to that page and you click on report a case, it opens a page. So you click. Have you clicked?
Yes.
Okay, so it opens. Has it opened?
It has
So when you click on that, it opens a page which shows you the various institutions where you can report a case, where you feel that your child is actually being subjected to some form of cyberbullying. You can talk to Team Coordination Center at the Communications Authority. You can talk to the Cradle, the Children's Foundation. This is a civil society organization. The Childline Kenya, also another organization. The Kenya Association of Professional Counselors, where they are able to have a conversation with your child. The Department of Children's Services, or even the government and the police. This is where you can report these cases. And if you just go to www.ca.go.ke, www.ca.go.ke, then you go to the Child Online Protection tab, you'll be able to get all this information. Is your child going through such kind of things of cyberbullying? And would you like to have this addressed? You can take it up with any of these organizations. Find ways of addressing it. And let's keep our children safe when they are browsing the internet or using any of the internet applications, including the social media apps. City, let's wind up with the day's proverb.
A fish and a bird may fall in love, but the two cannot build a home together.
Why did you pick that one?
I picked it up because of how it is. I was thinking of politics, really, and how politicians make strange bedfellows. And how it is, they want to make possible a situation which, by all accounts, nature being taken into account, is actually not possible.
So as you're talking about building coalitions,
you'll
see a fish and a bird professing love.
Yes.
But we know very well.
And I'm thinking this one. So the bird is going to be told to live underwater. And the fish is going to be told to live in a tree. So this I'd like to see.
This one. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room today. Join us again tomorrow morning from 6 to 10. Have a lovely day. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.